Birkat Yom Tov. Magmachsim Matei with all of us. Shaz Bracha Batzlocha. I'm going to hold the mic, okay, if you don't mind. Yeah. Sukkes on the most balabatish level, mamish on the most down-to-earth level, is connected to Parnosa. That's what it's about. It's the Chag HaOsif. The Chag HaOsif means people collect all of their produce. And the emes is all the three Yomim Tovim, all three Mayadim, Beis, Hashoeva, and Sukkes are all connected to the harvest. In other words, on a very, very simple level, if we have Yom Tov when we bring in our Parnosa. But on Pesach, the Parnosa is on the first level, so it doesn't say, it says in Chazal, it doesn't say Simcha even once. Shavuos, you bring in Parnosa, which is menschlich, so it says Simcha one time. And on Sukkes, you bring in Parnosa, which is not just enough to sustain yourself, but it's also negated to Eden, to Tainuk, to pleasure, Pedis. I always think of the irony that there's a bracha that we say in Chedesh Nissen. When you see a fruit tree that blossoms. So there's a bracha, they say, the brachas, all the brachas, Rubam Kakulam, almost all the brachas, so Anshken Sakadeli, you don't make up your own brachas. In other words, the Nusach HaBracha is very, very, very precise. And we make a bracha when you see a tree that's going to bear fruit later, when it's in blossom, and the lotion of the bracha is Le'hanais Bahem B'nei Yadam. The Eibishter gave Pedis, Eibishter made fruit, not just we should have what to eat, but Le'hanais Bahem mental Noah, that a person should have a Noah. The Eibishter made. The Eibishter made the world. Thank you for the Baruch Atah. Amen. L'chaim v'lebracha, l'chaim al yishir kind, l'chaim v'lebracha, l'chaim v'lebracha, l'chaim v'lebracha, l'chaim v'lebracha. The Eibush made a world. And in the Eibishter's world, there's all kinds of creations. And the way the Eibishter made the world, every creation is connected to every other creation. Every single form of life depends on every other form of life to sustain itself and to renew itself, to feed and be fed. But in the Goyish world, Lahavdil, they see it as a big circle. It's a circle. The web of life, it's a circle. Everything depends on everything else. In Kedusha, in Torah, it's a line. That the Doimim feeds the Tzemeach, the Doimim the Tzemeach feeds the Chai, and the Doimim Tzemeach and the Chai feeds the Medaber. And Chayachal, the Medaber, like it says in Midrashim, Yossi Panasosi, steht in Posuk. As Yisrael Mefanasim Lavim Shabashamayim, whatever the, now is not the time for the Lumdis. But the Eibishter made an interdependent world. But it's not equal. It's an interdependent world where you don't say that everything nourishes and is nourished in a cyclical way. There is a cycle, but the cycle involves a lower level and a higher level. And the top of the food chain, so to speak, is not the biggest animal, but it's the animal Kvayachal Lahatlef of those. They between Amedaber. Shaitan Chsidis Amedaber has two translations. The simple type of a medaber is somebody who can speak. But the deeper type of a medaber is somebody who has seichel. And in the Tilim that we say Rosh Hashanah before Tkiyas, we say the Pasuk Yad Ber Amim Tachteinu. Yad Ber means to collect. Yad Ber Amim Tachteinu. A medaber means that his job is to be an oisif, to collect everything that's in the Eibishter's world and to use it in the service of HaKadosh Baruch. So we say in the Nusach HaBracha, Hashem made, the Rabbi spoke about this so many times, that we say, so Baiden and Fashis Abbas Chasreinu means the Eibishter gave us enough food to survive, to live, to eat, to survive. And this is really Shavuos, Pesach and Shavuos. Bread you need to have from Azenis to live. And then you have Lahachis ben Nefesh Kol Choy. Lahachis ben Nefesh Kol Choy means the food that the Eibishter created, which is not just that people should live, But Lehana is behan b'nei Adam. The Eibush created things in this world that human beings should have a know. The Eibush created paydays. Apitaira, according to the Torah, the Eibush created fruit. Lehana is behan b'nei Adam. As mentioned on the Noah, fruit are beautiful and fruit are tasty. And the Lehana is mentioned Tainuk. And why? Because the Bishvil Nivra Olam. Because the Gemara, Bishvil Nivra Chayav Adam Leim, the Eibush created the world for a person. And what is the pshat b'shvili? Why did Eibush make the world for people? Because we're the servants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's our role to raise everything up and to connect it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And of course, when we're raising everything up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to remember to raise ourselves up also. We have to raise ourselves as well. And this is Chag HaOs, this is a Yom Tov of Sukkes on the most elementary level. First Madrege. Shavuos is Panos, the Eibush get Panos. So, man beschämt sich nicht. Der ist ein bisschen jeder im Panas Barchava und Bechaved. Shalei the man is Basa Badam. And the Rebbe always adds a very important additional component. The Rebbe used to say to people who would complain about the inequity in Parnasa, the Rebbe would tell them there's two in Yonim in Parnasa, how much money you earn and where the money goes. If you make a lot of money and you spend it for medical bills, is Acham Vei, is Yatz is Chadib Efseid. So the bracha is the Parnasa Barchava, Bechaved, Ubakashus. We soll gehen gute, gesunde Sachen. Wir haben Chassim in Agmar, Chassim in Teva. Wir haben ein gutes Jahr. Wir sollen gedenken allemal. Was steht in Chassidus? Wer steht in Chassidus, right? Ki Chaykli Yisrael Hu Mishpat L'Lekei Yankiv. It's an incredible thing. Ki Chaykli Yisrael Hu Mishpat L'Lekei Yankiv. It's a pasuk that's connected to Rosh Hashanah. Tikko B'Chei D'Sheva B'Kesla Yem Chageinu. Ki Chaykli Yisrael Hu Mishpat L'Lekei Yankiv. The way it says in the Siddur, yeah? Zayem Tchas Masechas, the Koran L'Yem Rishon, Ki Chaykli Yisrael Hu Mishpat L'Lekei Yankiv. So it says in Sfarim that Chaykli Yisrael goes on Panos and Gashmis. Because Chayk goes on Panos like that, Hatrifeni Lechem Chuki. And Mishpat L'Lekei Yankiv goes on Panos and Ruchnis. In Rosh Hashanah, there's a Mishpat. Not only for how much Panos a person is going to have, Gashmis, Rosh Hashanah is a Mishpat, how much Ruchnius a person is going to have. Rosh Hashanah, the judgment of Rosh Hashanah includes not just Parnasa, it includes Ruchnius as well. The emissary that says in all the Sfarim that the Irkei judgment of Rosh Hashanah is for Parnasa Gashmis, but it says it's also for Ruchnius. Now, L'chayra, Hakal B'dei Shamayim, Chutz Me'ira Shamayim, Hashem does not mix into our Avodas Hashem. Our Avodas Hashem has to do with our own Bechira Chavshis. But apparently, even in an Indian for Bechira Hakal, even in the Yin of Akel B'dei Shamayim, Chutz Me'ira Shamayim, in other words, even those in Yonah, the Eibush says, I don't mix in, it's up to the person. There's still a Yin for Sayata D'Shmaya, you understand? So one person has more Sayata D'Shmaya, another person has less Sayata D'Shmaya, and it's possible that it has to do with the Din of Mishpat of Rosh Hashanah. There's a Maiden Dikamaisa. A Maiden Dikamaisa. There's many stories. This is a story. The Alter Rebbe got a Chosid. Alter Rebbe had a big Chosid. His name was Rabbi Levi Horowitz, Mistrashale. In the Sefer Beis Rebbe, he's not called a Chosid, he's called a Talmud. If you're familiar with the Sefer Beis Rebbe, the Beis Rebbe is a Sefer about just Derech Agav. Derech Agav Sheba Agav. I don't know if you saw, they gave out a new Sukkes, this Sukkes. They found in the Rebbe's library the Sukkes of Tishrei Tavshin, of Sukkes Tavshin Vav. It's a whole lot. The Sukkes disappeared years ago. I remember I heard with 50 years ago, they found them pushed in the library. Versteckt. Sukkes Nefidike Rebbe from Tavshin Vav. And in these Sukkes you have a Mamash HaGrei says Shainung, where the Nefidike Rebbe says that you have to give a lichtiken Gan Eden to that Meir Chaim. Chaim Meir. Chaim Meir is the Mechaber in Beis Rebbe, Meir Chaim Hillman. The Nefidike Rebbe is Meshabeachim for printing the Sefer Beis Rebbe. The Sefer Beis Rebbe is a Sefer. It's not on the Babish, a Sefer, it's a Chabad Sefer. If you don't know the difference, don't worry about it. This has to do with history and politics. History is important. Politics that liegen bagraben. But it's about the Alter Rebbe, but the Mittler Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek. The first two Rebbeim of Chabad, the Zin of Chabad. Each section, the last Perek is about the Chassidim. So the last Perek of the Alter Rebbe is the Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe. The last Perek of the Mittler Rebbe is the Chassidim of the Mittler Rebbe. And the last Perek of the Rebbe is Tzemach Tzedek, is the Chassidim of Tzemach Tzedek. And you see names over there that you almost never hear. In the first section of the Rebbe, the first chassid that's listed is about an Alevi, about an Strashel, about an Alevi Strashel. And by him he writes HaTalmid. Der Baal Shem Tov got Talmidim. The Mizitch Magid got Talmid, not Rebbe got Chassidim, nicht Talmidim. Everybody understands between a Talmid and a Chassid. A Chassid, you get old, you're just an old Chassid. A Talmid, wird a Rebbe. Baal Shem Tov got Talmidim. The Mizitch Magid got Talmidim. The Rebbe got Chassidim, but by the Baron Alevi it says HaTalmid. Ich gehe nicht allein jetzt in the Pratim Shabbat, that's the Metzias. The Rebbe, I just read the Sikha with the Frierdiker Rebbe's is Meyake the Mechaber, the Sefer Beis Rebbe, so it's a good opportunity to mention this. So the Baron Alevi was a big top, was a tzaddik, was a kohen, he was a Kodesh. He was an unbelievably great man, Rabban Sashela. And one of the stories of Rabban Sashela was the following. The Alter Rebbe had a pyramid of all the Nesiach Chabad. The Alter Rebbe was the only Rebbe that really had, if you could use such oisias, the Alter Rebbe had help. The Alter Rebbe had Chassidim who were able to assist him be'emes in the hadrach of the Chassidim. In other words, Chassidus is about Avodas Hashem. Chassidus is about Avodas Hashem. It may come as a surprise to you, but Chassidus is about Avodas Hashem. And a Rebbe is supposed to teach a Chassid that come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Alter Rebbe had a pyramid. In other words, a Chassid who wanted to meet the Alter Rebbe had to go through, in the language of the HMOs, gatekeepers. You couldn't just go into the Alter Rebbe, you had to have a mashpia. And your mashpia had a mashpia above him. And that mashpia had a mashpia above him. Until it was decided by your mashpia and by your madrichim that you need to go into the Alter Rebbe, so they would tell the people that needed to know that they were matziyah, they should have a yachidus with an Alter Rebbe. That was the seder. And the Chassidim were divided into three groups. The older Chassidim, nobody was very old in those generations, but that's a Mesudazach. The older Chassidim were, thanks for the Kabbalah, the older Chassidim were under the influence of Hashem. Alter had a brother. Rabbi Yehuda Leib, the Maril, who was a big chassid, was a big god, was a big chassid. He was in charge of the elder elite. The younger chassidim were under the tutelage of the Mittel Rebbe, and the middle chassidim were under the adrach of Rabban Alevi, Rabban Sashel. The Mittel Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe's oldest son, was not born healthy. The Mittel Rebbe Begashmi from birth was ill. He suffered with his lungs. He passed away at 54. And he was gesund. And Alter Rebbe watched him like a hawk. Alter Rebbe watched him like a hawk. Alter Rebbe he forced the Mittel Rebbe much more than the Maggid forced the Malach. He made sure the Mittel Rebbe is a lesson, is a schlafen, is only fasten so viel. There's a lot of stories. But the Mittel Rebbe wasn't so healthy. So it happened more than once and he got sick. So once he got sick, and he wasn't able to be Madech during the light, the young Chassidim. So the Alter Rebbe called in Rabban Alevi, Rabban Sashel, and he asked him that he should do double duty, basically. He should continue doing his work, what was called the Mittel Alite. I don't know what the ages are, but it wasn't very old. They were not 70, 60, and 50, it was 20, 30, and 40 Mistam. He should continue being Madech, the Chassidim were under his tutelage, but he should also take on the work of the Mittel Rebbe, so long as the Mittel Rebbe was not able to do his work. So Rabban Alevi was doing hadracha for the middle-aged Chassidim, and for the younger Chassidim. The younger Chassidim you have to treat a little different. Rabban Alevi was a Ish of Gevura. He was a Levi. He was a tzaddik and David Elokim. He was a man of Gevura. And of course, the first place where the Gevura was directed was at himself. Rabban Alevi had Avzich Kanachmanis Nishgah Bechlau. A person who was a serious servant of the Eibishter had Avzich Tzufel Kanachmanis Nisht. But his hadracha was very strong, very strong. So the Mittel Alite were a keli for it. The middle-aged Chassidim, whatever that means in years, could take it. The younger Alite was too strong. It was too strong. And Rabban Alevi did his job as he saw fit. He was Madech the Alite, and he was very demanding and very strict and very critical. So the story is brought down in Sfarim that the Rabban Alevi was doing this hadracha for the younger Chassidim. He saw in himself, in his own avodah, it's not going so good. The eigene David, the eigene Lenin geht es nicht. He's missing chayes, missing life. And it went on for so long, this lack of chayes in his avodah was so disturbing to him that he actually made a yechidus, and he went to the Alter Rebbe, and he says the Alter Rebbe, the letzte Zeit, in the more recent period of time, my own avodah is sputtering, my own avodah lacks chayes. So the Alter Rebbe said to him, am in 40 mit andere mit Gvuris, 40 mit sich mit dir, mai loiche mit Gvuris. That because you are treating the young light with Gvura, that they're not, I don't know how to translate this. When you treat others with Gvura, so Milmaila, you trust, in other words, your avodas Hashem is sputtering, not because you're doing anything different, but because they cast upon it, they behalten von dir. In other words, even in avodas Hashem, and avodas Hashem is in our own hands, you need mishpat al-kayanka, mishpat of Hashem determines the capacity that He's going to give us to come close to feel close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the judgment of Rosh Hashanah, as they state, is not only for Varam Gashmi, it's not only for material things, also for Ruchniusdike things. Notwithstanding that Eibush doesn't mix in to what a person does in terms of Avodas Hashem, there's still such an inyan. It all starts Rosh Hashanah and finishes Sukkes. It starts Rosh Hashanah and finishes Sukkes. So just like in Sukkes, we say that it's a time, Chag HaOsif, it's a moyet connected to Panosa, and Panosa in the Madrega of Oinig. In other words, not Panosa that we should have what to eat. Panosa we should have what to eat in a way, Lehonis Behem B'nei Yodam, for the purposes of Tainug. The same is true when it comes to Yom Ruchniah. The Mishpat of the Kayankim and Chag HaSukkes is not just that we should be close to the Eibush, though we should be close to the Eibush with our Lichtigkeit. We should be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with our Levitikkeit, close to the Eibush with our Tainug. I'm a Geschmack as I know to the Eibush. This is Chag HaSukkes, this is Chag HaSukkes, Chag HaOsif. So l'chaim v'levrach, ich bin jeder ein von uns, a lichtige Yomtev, a freiliche Yomtev, a gesundte Yomtev, a jiddische Yomtev, a chassidische Yomtev, und a weiterdicke Yomtev, und a tzlachedicke Yomtev. L'chaim v'levrach, l'chaim, Chaim, see, you know what you say next to me? Because you came in last. Never know the place to sit. The guy who comes in is going to sit in this chair. Abreda. L'chaim v'levrach, l'chaim v'levrach, l'chaim. Tonight is the Schließen of the Mittler Rebbe. Right? That's the Mittler Rebbe, Tzemach Tzedek. What's that? Tzemach Tzedek. Yemin Hashem Eloi Meimo Yemin Hashem. Pick up your mic.
Your people care about social media. Hashem. Just last week I walked in, a meaningful minute. There's a big following. It's waiting till after Yom Tov.
the Zohar, of course, you know that the Zohar there's a Shpizim. Every night of Sukkes you have 7 guests. Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yankov Avinu, Moshe, and Aaron, and Yosef and David. And the Rebbe mentioned that in one place in Zohar, it takes out Yosef and it puts in Shloim. And by many Kiddush B'Yisrael, every night of Sukkes, when they go into the Sukkah before the Kiddush even, they invite to a Shpizim. And way the Shpizim work is that there's the first Shpizim is the Ikir, the most important Shpizim is the first. And each day a different one is the first. On the first day it's Avraham Avinu, second day it's Yitzchak Avinu, the third day it's Yankov Avinu, and the fourth day it's Moshe Rabbeinu. And the fifth day, and tomorrow is the fifth day, tonight the fifth day is Aaron HaKohen. And the Nachat Yosef and David. So the Rebbe that sat over at the Friedrich Rebbe here in New York in 770, in Tafshin Dalet, 1943, was sitting in his sukkah, and the Friedrich Rebbe said that just like you have the Shpizim from the Zohar, you have the Chassidish or Shpizim. And the Friedrich Rebbe don't give him with the finger. The finger was pointed with his finger. The Friedrich Rebbe's sukkah was very small. Don't give him, oh, it's the Baal Shem Tov. Here's in the Baal Shem Tov. No, this the Mesicha Magid. And he went through the Rabbi, from the Baal Shem Tov till his father, the Rebbe Rashi. Oh, this the Baal Shem Tov. Oh, he pointed, oh, this the Mesicha Magid. The Rebbe didn't point, but he told the story how the Rebbe Rayat's pointing. And on the Shimchas that you have, there was a Yid whose name was Yankel Katz, Olav Shalom. He was very close to the Rebbe, very close to the Friedrich Rebbe. And the Rebbe would say to him from time to time, Rabbi Yankel, you were by the Friedrich Rebbe, when that don't give us a bit the finger. The Rebbe would say to him, it's better, Mike. Hello? I think it's better.
Use both. Closer to them. Closer to them.
Do you want both of them? Testing, it's better?
Yeah.
So turn that one off. Yeah. So the Rebbe, you say, Rabbi Yankel Katz, du bist doch gemein, you were there when the Friedrich Rebbe don't give us with the finger. And he would ask him to tell the story. So the Rebbe made a very big deal of what's called the Chassidish or Shpizim. And for many years, the years that I was in Yeshiva, I was a Bacher, the Rebbe each night spoke about the Shpizim from the Zohar and the Chassidish or Shpizim, and he would show a similarity between the two. The say it's between the Tzemach Tzedek and Aaron HaKohen. Aaron HaKohen's Indian is Shalom. Aaron HaKohen's Indian is Shalom. Now the third mic, this is even better. Testing. What's up, Tommy, 3 mics?
One's out of battery, no?
This one has a battery. Oh, because you want to give him that one. Because you take this one, yeah? The Eif Aaron HaKohen was Shalom, and the Eif Tzemach Tzedek is Gemach Shalom in Teire. Tzemach Tzedek is Gemach Shilo for Kol HaTeire Kula. The Rebbe said once that we know from Chassidim that the Rebbe Rashab was called the Rambam of Chassidus. And the Rebbe once said about the Tzemach Tzedek, he was also the Rambam of Chassidus. Somebody asked the Rebbe, you got to make up your mind, who's the Rambam, either the Rebbe Rashab or the Tzemach Tzedek. So the Rebbe said that the Rebbe Rashab was the Rambam of Chassidus. Tzemach Tzedek was the Rambam of Kol HaTeire Kula. If you look at Tzemach Tzedek's Chassidus, which is so voluminous, it's so much, and it's written in the Shimchas, it's not written in full Teiros. It's notes, it's Aribu, it's Ashef. And we know that there were many fires. In other words, from the Tzemach Tzedek's Teira were missing Mistama and Rubai. More than half. He wrote a Kol HaTeire Kula. So the Rebbe said that Tzemach Tzedek's in Shalom, because he made Shalom with the Nigla and Nista. He showed us Teira Achas. And the Rebbe, our Rebbe, the Rebbe's on Gazun, that's his Indian. To show that everything that says a Pnimis HaTeira, Mokar and Nigla, it's one Teira, Mamish one Teira, in every prat. So it's Tzemach Tzedek's Ushpizim. So I'll tell you a story. I don't have a voice, I can't sing it. I'll tell you a story, which is in the Sefer HaNigunim. That the Tzemach Tzedek has gesagt auf sich, I wish I could talk in Yiddish. I'd much rather talk in Yiddish. But I think that most of the people would rather talk in English. The Tzemach Tzedek hat gesagt auf sich, ich kann viele sagen, a Kapitel Tilma, der Apostel Yid. Tzemach Tzedek said about himself, I can do everything. I can even say Tilma like Apostel Yid. Tzemach Tzedek was a Gon and a Tzaddik and Eved Alakim. He said, but I can say Tilma like Apostel Yid. How's a Apostel Yid say Tilma? Mit der Stabchas HaNefesh. Es gießt sich aus den Neshama. Simple Jew says Tilma. He doesn't have to know what the words mean. Yeah, the words are warm. A Heise Kapitel Tilma. Avaro Kapitel Heise Glas Tei. It's Alamol's money. So I can take Tilma like a Apostel Yid. So there's a sipur which happened on Sukkes Takeh. that it was a Shana Rabbi, and the Shana Rabbi darf noch sagen ganz Tillim. I saw someone said didn't say the Minyan. Tzemach Tzedek was sitting in his sukkah. By Nacht, he was saying Tillim. The Chassidim heard that Tzemach Tzedek saying Tillim, so they went outside the sukkah, and they climbed up on the back of the sukkah to hear him saying Tillim. And they heard one pasuk. They heard one pasuk. The Rebbetzin, the Tzemach Tzedek's Rebbetzin, came around, and she saw the Chassidim climbing over the side of the sukkah. She got very aggravated, and she said, "Was? Came on this gesehen by Yitzhak Tillim. You never saw you say leave him alone. Came on this gesehen by Yitzhak. Never saw a Jew say Tillim." So they ran away. But the one pasuk we have, it's a niggin. It's in Sefer Negunim. Hadin Hashem Kitzi. I'll try to sing it. Chamish Kakol. It's a Sukkes niggin. The story begins on Sukkes. It's Hadin Hashem Kitzi. Kapitel Lamed Tes Tillim. If you know the niggin and you sing with me, you'll save me from sounding like a frog. You understand? Chavod sagt nur für Tzemach Tzedek ist es. Hoidiyeini Hashem kitzi umidas yomai mahi Eidiyo mechadeloni. Das ist der ganze nur. Hoidiyeini Hashem kitzi. Man kann mitsingen. Umidas yomai mahi Eidiyo mechadeloni. Hoidiyeini Hashem kitzi umidas yomai mahi Eidiyo mechadeloni. So we have one pasuk. From the Tzemach Tzedek, Frank Nuis. From the Rebbe, we have to do it. From the Tzemach Tzedek, we also have a number of Negunim, that the whole Nigun is a pasuk. It's a Sukkes de Kamaise. So hat Shach gesagt, eine Zeit der Tzemach Tzedek zu spießen. Und mit dem kommen alle Rabbeim, und der Rabbi Eilam, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yankel, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. It's a good guest. No, it's good guests. All good guests. It's good guests. They come to our Sukkah. They come to our Sukkah. And they don't say, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? It is wert, it is nicht wert. He deserves it to come into Sukkah. They come to every Sukkah. You put up a Sukkah, there's Spiesen come. Finished. You put up a Sukkah, there's Spiesen come. Okay? Whatever these things mean, but we don't have the ability to see. We don't see, but we believe. We believe in the Munah Shlema that these Inyanim are all emes. We should be kushet zum Leben, to the Rabbeim, to the Nesienu, and we should serve the Eibishter with that lebendigkeit, with that chayis, with that warmth, with that chassidishkeit. Okay, we'll sing another niggin from Tzemach Tzedek. The niggin we sang before, this is the niggin, the Iker niggin, Tzemach Tzedek Meima. But the Tzemach Tzedek has other nigunim. Some of them he composed himself, and some of them were composed by Chassidei Tzemach Tzedek. But this niggin is miyuchas to Tzemach Tzedek, as they get this. They would sing about the Rebbe from time to time also. I need him and again who can sing. Oh Yedadam, oh Yedadam, oh Yedadam, oh This is mashta because I'm l'chaim. I'm a think Talin is min hashikir. I'm saying l'chaim, l'chaim l'brach, 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 l'chaim l'brach. Farbrengen of Shimchas, right? Shimchas. This time of year is time for Simcha. And Mistama, you know that in Avodas Hashem and Yiddishkeit there's different levels of Simcha. In Sukkes alone you have a bunch of Simchas. You have the Simcha of Yom Tif, and the Simcha of Lulav, and you have the Simcha of Beis Hashoeva. That's how it comes in. Simcha of Yom Tif starts right away. Simcha of Yom Tif, Lulav starts the next morning. And Simcha of Beis Hashoeva starts the second night. And the Rebbe has a Sicha on the three Madrigas of Simcha. Then you have the Simcha of Shminat Tzeres, the Simcha of Simchas Torah. There's a lot of different Simchas associated with Sukkes. Shimchas, aside from Simcha. The Rambam writes in Hilchas Lulav, Hilchas Sukkah, that Simcha is an Avodah Gedolah. The Rambam, it's a very interesting, the Rebbe spoke about this, this is a Bavus Zach. The Rambam does not connect the Simcha of Sukkes with Beis Hashoeva. Right, it's called Simcha Beis Hashoeva. Simcha Beis Hashoeva means there's a Simcha from drawing the water, and it's important to point out that the Simcha is not from pouring the water on the Mizbeach. The Simcha was from collecting it. Simcha's Beis Hashoeva, not Simcha's Nisach HaMayim, which was done by day. Simcha's Beis Hashoeva is a Simcha from pouring the water by night. They went at night, they went to Shiloach, and they drew water. It was a whole ceremony how they drew the water. In the Beis HaMikdash, Nisach HaMayim called Shiva, they poured it on Shabbos also. But they didn't collect it on Shabbos, they would collect it on Friday. Because you couldn't go as a Shabbos from carrying, but every day of Sukkot they poured water on the Mizbeach. But the Simcha's Beis Hashoeva was not so much the pouring the water on the Mizbeach, was simply collecting the water. And l'chayra, if you look at it in Chazal, bepashtus, anything which the Tzdukim had an issue of, the Prushim made a big deal out of. Anything that the Tzdukim had an issue, the Prushim made a big ceremony. Like you see by Farbrengen, that there was an argument with Seichel Machas and Shabbos, so make a big deal out of it. And Derech Agav, this is an interesting Hashgacha Pratis. For those who learn Shleisha Brachma Yom and Rambam, we learn Hilchas Paraduma. We started today in Negoim, yesterday. With the beginning of Sukkes, Hilchas Paraduma. Vos for Hashgacha that Paraduma with Sukkes? In the Pashat the Teretz, Chayav Adam, and Taras, and Belego. Yeah? Can't go to the Beis HaMikdash if you're not tired. But if you go a little deeper, the way the Paraduma is, I tell you, you read Hilchas Paraduma and you scratch your head and say, how is it going to work? In Paraduma, the Shtoka Midiyah, it's finished. Everything you do Paraduma is being the Chatchila Shabbat. You make one mistake, the ganze Mais is possible. Do it all over again. Make it possible, the ganze Efer Parad, nothing you can do about it. The Paraduma, the halachas of Efer, was called Paraschatas, Efer Nida, Mechatas. The standard was so high. And there was no margin for error. There was no such thing as, if it didn't do it like this, it's still kosher. If it wasn't perfect, you have to throw it away and start over. Why were we so mahad by Paraduma? What were we so machmir? This is the Rambam. We learned it in the Rambam. You know, the way Rambam works is everything you learned yesterday. You learned so fast. Paradum is 15 brokem, that's 5 days. 5 tag. It's a sach. It's a sach. 15 brokem with Paradum. It's a nicht green. But the Rambam writes interesting halacha. That the Sukkes gehalten, that to do Paraduma, you're not allowed to be at full yom. Don't worry what it means. Don't worry about it. The person was Tomei, and he went to the mikveh. So you have to wait till Hashoeva for the sun to go down, like it does in the first Mishnah in Shas. Because truma you're not allowed to eat when you're at full yom. If you're tabled in the mikveh, you have to wait for the sun to set to be able to eat truma. So the Tzdukim say that if you want to be involved in preparing the Paras Chatos, you can't be at full yom. So there was a special minhag that they would mitamer kol ha'iskim b'para. Everybody who made the paradum, including if they used the kohen gadol, which didn't have to be, they would mitamer everybody is in b'para. They titled them in the mikveh, and they didn't wait for the sun to set. They dafka used tvula yoyim, lo'hoitzim eliben shel tzdukim. But they didn't know the paradum, and because of this kula come all the chumras. Verstehst? If you think that tzdukim don't ruin our life, that's not amazing. Because of this one kula, that they made it their business, every person was about the paraduma, they would be mitamer them, and they would table in the mikvahs, they were tired, but they wouldn't wait for the sun to set. They should do it through the yom to show that we don't agree with this Sukkah, and because of this, they have all the chumras. And the same is to Sukkes. In other words, there's a connection between Hilchas Paradum and Sukkes, because both of them have to do with Laheisim and Liben Shel Tzdukim. Those who don't believe Teresh Bapeh, that the Paraduma is an aspect of Liben Shel Tzdukim in the whole business of Shimchas Beis. You know why Shimchas Beis was such a big deal? Because the Sukkah didn't like it. The Sukkah said that there's no source of Nischamayim in the Torah, so they didn't do it. You do it, the Gesetz Chazal. So we make it to a big deal. Shimchas Beis Hashoeva. But if you look at Rambam, the Rambam doesn't say that. The Rambam does not make any connection between Shimchas Beis Hashoeva and Beis Hashoeva. He speaks about the fact that they used to make a tikkun gadol in the Hazara. They would make a balcony. The women were on top, and the men were below, so they shouldn't be mixed. And he describes the simcha of Chalamet Sukkes. And of course, in the Beis Hamikdash, they only made it. They didn't make it Chalil Chamisha V'Shisha, like the Mishnah says. Chalil is a remes v'simcha. They didn't do it on Yom Tov. They didn't do it on Shabbos. So if the first is Sukkes for Shabbos, they did it for 6 days. If the first day Sukkes was not Shabbos, so one of the other 7 days of Sukkes was Shabbos, so they only did it for 5 days, because they had to do Malacha. But the Rambam does not hold that Simchas Beis Hashoeva is hekik to the water. He doesn't hold that. We all say that, the shit in the Gemara. The Rambam holds the Simcha of Sukkes is separate. It's not hekik to Beis. Everyone spoke that this is a Machlekes Bavli and Yerushalmi, and that the Rambam passes like the Yerushalmi. It's a klal as Bavli and Yerushalmi, Allah to Bavli, for whatever reasons. The Rambam passes like the Yerushalmi. But b'chol efet, there's a big simcha in Sukkot. Sukkot is a big simcha. So the Rebbe in the Sukkes talks about simcha. The Rambam talks about simcha. In the end of Hilchas Lulav, the Rambam talks about simcha. So he starts off talking about the simcha of Sukkos. You think he can go on? No, this must mean. He starts off talking about the simcha of Sukkos, and he goes, once he's talking about the simcha of Sukkos, he talks about simcha b'chlal. And the Rambam writes that Simcha is an Avodah Gedolah. Simcha is an Avodah Gedolah. It's a big Avodah. And Avodah Gedolah has 2 meanings. The first meaning of Avodah Gedolah means it's very important. And the second meaning of Avodah is that it's very hard. To serve the Eibishter with Simcha is an Avodah. Why? Because the Teva Bnei Adam is that we're burdened. We're burdened by life. We're burdened by the Yetzer Hara. We're burdened by our tirdis, and by our tirchis, and by our daigis. And Bechlal Ba'Yelam Hazeh, you know what I'm saying? And it's an avodah, it's a shvera avodah, it's a job that a person has to do to serve the Eibush and B'teich Simcha. But the Rambam writes it's very important. The Rambam says, Shrek l'chaverte, the Rambam writes, Tachas Hashem, the Father said, the Shem l'gacha b'simcha t'im le'vov. V'aval t'zeh yevecha. You know this passage from Parshas Kisovi.
Rav Kol.
Yeah, Miroiv Kol t'zeh yevecha, right? So the Rambam writes, a person Hashem b'teiro mitzvah. He's from. But he doesn't do it b'teich simcha. For that alone, he deserves V'aval t'zeh yevecha. This shit in the Rambam. Why? Because the Yid has to serve the Eibush to Miterach Simcha. In Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says, we do all our Kel Mashkos of Arizal. But the emphasis is that the Rambam says the same thing. And the Rebbe has a kasha, why is the Alter Rebbe quoting the Arizal? When the Rambam was before the Arizal, the Rambam says the same thing. That if you serve Hashem, but you don't serve Hashem with Simcha, it's not good. It's not good. Simcha is a big avodah. And in the Rebbe Sichas, the Rebbe talks different madregas of Simcha. The different levels of Simcha. The classic concept of Simcha is Simcha Shal Mitzvah. That's what the Rambam talks about. Simcha Shal Mitzvah. Simcha Shal Mitzvah. It doesn't mean to Simcha. The Rebbe brings in the Sichas and he connects it to a Ramah. There's something called Simcha V'Daras. Simcha which is not kept the mitzvah, just Simcha. Simcha without just Simcha for the sake of Simcha. It's also Avodas Hashem. And the Rebbe holds that's a higher madrega of Simcha. And the Rebbe connects it to the Ramah, Teiv Lev Mishta Tamid, that in the end of Golus, on the one hand the Golus is darker, on the other hand we have higher in Yanim of Avodah. There's a Indian of Simcha which is even higher. So Sukkes is Man Simcha said, this is the season for Simcha. And Simcha is an Avodah. When you're 6 years old, Simcha is not so hard. Unless you're crying because your mother didn't give you a cookie, you can be for Simcha. Yeah? When you reach a certain age, and certainly when you get older, and the world becomes real for grown-ups. I'm not sure exactly what grown-up means. Besides for the passport, biological years, Simcha is an Avodah. Why? Because we're busy. Wir sind vernommen mit unseren Lebens, mit unseren Schwierigkeiten, mit unseren Halamas, wir stehen, with all of the challenges in our life, and they make Simcha difficult. And Yiddishkeit, jeder sagt, dass Yidus dabei bei Simcha. Es ist kein Gelächter. There's nothing funny about it. There's nothing light about Yidus Hashem bei Simcha. There's a video. I didn't see the video, but I read the transcript. A Yid came to the Rebbe. A Yid, a Chassidish Yid, not all about a Chassidish Yid, came to the Rebbe by dollars. And he says to the Rebbe, ich habe gehört, dass der Lubavitcher Rebbe kocht sich in Simcha. Tells the Rebbe by dollars, which was open. I heard that the Rebbe is very into Simcha. So the Rebbe says, yeah, but he says, yeah. It's a safe pasuk, very powerful, yeah. So this Yid told the Rebbe, Finvus, what should I be happy about? I don't know who this person was, but Mistami, he was about Yisurim. And he came to the Rebbe, heard the Rebbe said, why should I be B'Simcha? And the Rebbe answered him, was Haze, Bistach a Yid. What do you mean, why? You're a Yid. That's reason enough. So this is an avodah, it's a job, it's an avodah. Und der Emes ist, darf ich ihn Farbrengen. Für was? Was jeder in eine Gehe. Jeder Gehe meint, es dreht an jeder und für jeder ist schwer. Seid nach Kind. Everybody, you see how much easier Yiddish is in English? You gotta learn Yiddish, it's not nicht in English. Yiddish is experience, do you understand? The trademark of a chassid is a sameach. Doesn't listen. The trademark of a chassid is a sameach. Chassidim served Hashem with bedachen and tikva and simcha, and they were not fools. They were not naive. They lived in the Eibishter's world. They lived in the Eibishter's world, and some of them had very difficult lives. It wasn't always so easy to mizog. Oh, but it is Hashem simcha. A chassid was afraid. It was one of the trademarks of a chassid. Of Chassidus, or the Mahilka Baal Shem Tov, was avoided with Simcha. And it looks like Hoylulus, it looks like Kalas Reish, it looks like Prikasol, it looks like Shevavus. But the truth of the matter is, it's difficult, it's an avoidah. It's an avoidah, that's telling them. A person has to work, always to be Sameach. Why? Because it is in Eibishter's world. He's a Re'echid, Shemach, Macham, Macham, Baruch, Zan Yidden. I thank the Eibishter, Zan Yidden. And a Yid is supposed to be samech. It's an avodah. It's a job. It's a task. And it's not every day so easy. You know, some days it's good, some days not so good. But no matter what's going on, a Yid has to be b'simcha. And this is man simcha saying. This is the time. Sukkes is man simcha saying. The Rebbe brings a medrash on B'chedesh HaShvi. I think B'chedesh HaShvi. No, this is the pasuk in Tillim. Begin to on this point, Bechedesh HaShvi is a medrash. And the medrash says that Bechedesh HaShvi is muspa b'koil. It says, it's sated, it's enriched with all good things. And the medrash lists all kinds of things that you have in Arava and Gitas, alle gute Sachen. The Chassidus of it, is that the Chedesh Tishrei is Chedesh Kloli. Chedesh Kloli means that the Inyonim in this Chedesh are under the Madreg of Klal, which is higher than the Madreg of Prat. And I'll explain it to you. I'll explain it a little bit. Everybody knows it is Ramach Evidim. Everybody knows Ramach Evidim. It's a Mishnah. It's an Negin Halacha. That you have Ramach Evidim, 248 limbs, is Negin Halacha. It's Mesech Olis, Mishnais. But there's an interesting thing. If you look at the Ramach Evidim, you'll notice that you don't include the brain. The brain is not an Evid. You don't include the eyes. You don't include the tongue. You don't include the heart. You don't include the lungs. You don't include the liver. None of the Evadim Pnimiyim was called in Halacha. The Evadim Shah Nefesh Le'abehem, the organs that you can't live without, are not in the Ramach Evidim. It's a pellet. 248 limbs and you don't include the brain. You don't include the eyes. Why not? Why not? Because to be an Evid have a bone. Why is it making noise? The Ramach Evidim are with a bone. But the Evadim Pnimiyim, the brain, the heart, the lungs, they're not included in the Ramach Evidim. So now let me ask you a question. You have Ramach Mitzvahs, right? Then how long even brings this? That the Ramach Mitzvahs connect the Ramach Avot. But Shintzah Machalei steht, he doesn't bring the Zohar. We say Shasa Gidim. The Rambam writes Kemish Imesh Nasachama. Shintzah Machalei Mitzvahs Leisach. The Rambam writes Keminyan Imesh Nasachama. But Ramach Mitzvah say he says Keminyan Evan Shalom. So I'm asking you a question. You have the Ramach Evidim, which correspond to the Ramach Mitzvahs. And the brain doesn't have a mitzvah? The brain doesn't have a mitzvah. Only my pinky, between this part of my pinky and my wrist, is 5 Evadim. 1, 2, 3, that you can see, 4, 5. A person's hand is Yad. There's 14 Evadim. These 4 fingers each have 5. No, I made a mistake. It's 24. It's not Yadal. Chavdamat. This is 5, 10, 15, 20, 24. A hand till the wrist is 24 Evadim. Why? Every bone is a separate Evad. And my brain is not. So I have 24 mitzvahs in my right hand, 24 mitzvahs in my left hand. What about my brain? What about my eyes? What about my tongue? What about my heart? They're not mitzvahs. You know who talks about those parts of the body? The Sefer Yetzirah. You know, Sefer Yetzirah because you say, take a little shuz. So you read against the Chav Beis Eises of Aleph Beis, so you see over there against the Evadim Pnimiyim. So I'm asking, push the kash. You have 248 mitzvahs, to correspond to 200 Evadim. And what corresponds to the brain? What corresponds to the heart? What corresponds to the lungs? Sishka mitzvahs. Tell like a mice, I'll tell you a story. With the Rebbe. I heard the story from Rabbi Glukowski's on the Zunda. He spoke once in 7 and told the mice. A Yid came in, it happened in the early Lamas. It happened, I know, 50 years ago, maybe a little bit more. A Yid came into 770, Nishkal Abamishah. A Baronian, a Ben Teira, a Teira Yid. And he came into 770, had a Yechidus, had an appointment to see the Rebbe. So the Bachrim see him. So the Bachrim is that they were busy trying to collect information. So they right away go over to him, Shalom Aleichem. And they start asking him why he's here. He says, I have a Yechidus, I want to go see the Rebbe. Why do you want to, you look like a Yeshiva Bachrim, you look like a Chassid, why do you want to see the Rebbe? So he tells them, I am ill, I have an illness in my Moyach Nebuch. That's something wrong with my brain. And I'm not going to the Rebbe as a Chassid. I'm going to the Rebbe as a Makubal. Because I want to know which mitzvah corresponds to the brain. And I'm going to do that mitzvah, the Hidur, and it will heal my brain. You know what the Gemara says? So there's a whole chassidus about this. Teira is echad. So any part of Teira is connected to all the Ramach Evidim. But you have to learn the right piece of Teira. Person has a headache and learns Teira, headache doesn't go away. What's the Teira? He didn't learn the right part of the Teira. But Teira is different than mitzvahs because Teira is one big, it's echad. But this Yid's Hergish was, it's a moidendik in their head. This Yid said, I want to know which mitzvah is connected to my brain. There's a sefer, by the way, for those who don't know. A sefer called Sefer Chareidim. You can buy it in the bookstore. Sefer Chareidim goes through the whole goof, and he tells you which mitzvah is connected to which Eidim. which mitzvah is into which part of the body. So this Yid came to the Rebbe, he had Yechidus, an appointment, and he wanted the Rebbe to tell him which mitzvah is connected to the brain. So he went in and he came out, and the Bochum circled him again. Was the Rebbe gesagt? So he repeated what the Rebbe told him. The Rebbe told him, this is, you have to understand, I heard it from Rabbi Glukowski, who heard the story 50 years ago, so I mean, I'm imagining that mehr oder weniger das richtig, zu sagen, als der genau 100%, man kann nicht wissen, this approximately. The Rebbe told him, Heyesa de moyach as an ever kloli, darfst du nehmen a mitzvah klolis. Since the brain is a general organ, it's not a specific organ, it's a general organ, you should choose a general mitzvah. And the Rebbe told him, he should be mahadin in the mitzvah of Hashgacha Pratis. I never heard that there's such a mitzvah as Hashgacha Pratis. What's the Hashgacha Pratis? The Eibush is the Mashgiach, I'm not the Mashgiach. The Eibush is the Mashgiach. What's the Pshat, the Pashtus? It's all Zen Hashgacha Pratis. We all have Hashgacha in life all the time, but we don't pay attention. So the Rebbe was saying to this younger man, if you wanted to force a goof for a machle, and with the Mayach, pay attention to the Eibush Hashgacha. Watch how the Eibush that looks after you. The Eibush that holds you by the hand and takes you through life. Pay attention. See the Hashem Yisbarach in every single little step that you take in your life. It's a gewaldige Maise. It's a moidendige Maise. What's the pshat in the Maise? The pshat in the Maise is we have a mach mitzvahs, 248 mitzvahs. They're nice. And then we have mitzvahs of Shanach made their nice. But the Alter Rebbe says it in the Kodesh. If anybody wants to look up, it's the second to the last. The Kodesh in Tanya, it begins with the word Hine Leiteva Hashmua. You could read this over there. There's also such a letter in the back of the Siddur, I think, where people say there's a lot of mitzvahs that are not midenais. What's a mitzvah not midenais? A lamosh. This is, of course, totally in the different shittas. It becomes very complicated. But according to some shittas, tshuva is not midenais. The mitzvah is vidah, not tshuva. There are even shittas that hold that tefillah is not a derais. Al-Rabbi brings in the Kodesh and Bolok that the Meiri holds that tefillah is not a derais. There's different shittas. The Rambam and Ramban, the shittas hold tefillah is not a derais. And the other mitzvahs which are for sure not derais. And Avu and the Kula is Emunah. The Emunah. The Tzemach Tzedek writes that the Bahag holds Emunah is not a mitzvah. And the Tzemach Tzedek explains that even according to the Rambam it's not a mitzvah. The first mitzvah is not Emunah, the first mitzvah is Yediyah. Emunah Hashem is not a mitzvah. There's no mitzvah to believe in the Eibishter. Why? So that if you know the Tzemach Tzedek, he writes, he brings the Abavinel. Im naniach Emunah sekher, Emunah is mitzvah sekel mitzvah, kvar naniach Emunah is mitzvah sekel, kedem is mitzvah sekel. If you are told they have a mitzvah to believe in the Eibishter, that means you already believe in the Eibishter to do the mitzvah of believing in the Eibishter. How could it be a mitzvah? Emunah is before mitzvahs. The first mitzvah is Yediyah. But that doesn't make it not important. It makes it super important. We have mitzvahs kloliyos. Mitzvahs kloliyos. Mitzvahs that are not an aver, not a part of the body, they're the whole goof. And that's why they correspond to those avarim that you can't live without. You understand? You can live without a pinky, but you can't live without a mayach. You can't live without a reya, you can't live without a kovet, you can't live without a lev, right? Without a heart you can't live. Those evorim are not in the Ramach mitzvahs. Because the Ramach mitzvahs are details. Right, you have the Torah is a Ravuka, the Torah is a torch, and the mitzvahs are ner mitzvah, little candles. But then we have mitzvahs that are not little candles, they're also the Ravuka, they're the whole person. And there's many mitzvahs which are not in the cheshbon of Ramach mitzvah say, not because they're not important, because they're super important. The whole Yiddishkeit is in these mitzvahs. Emunah is kol atera kula. Shuv is kol atera kula. Tzvil is kol atera kula. And the Chassidus says, all the mitzvahs of Tishrei are mitzvahs koliyos. A lot of them are also mitzvahs pratiyos. There's a whole thing about the Rebbe Asichas on this. Mitzvahs koliyos that are also mitzvahs pratiyos, like tefillah and shuvah. But there's the way we understand it in Chassidus, all the mitzvahs of Tishrei are mitzvahs kloliyos. In other words, the mitzvahs of Tishrei are not parts of the body of a person, or the parts of the body of the Torah. Every mitzvah in Torah, Tishrei is the whole Torah. For example, The avodah of Rosh Hashanah is Kabbalah Sel Machal Shamayim. So the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya that one of the Kabbalah says mitzvah avodah. Alter Rebbe says that that avodah Kabbalah is Kabbalah Sel. Perek Mamalef. It's a long conversation, but in Tishrei there's a Kabbalah Sel Kloli, and the same is true. You do tshuva every day, and on Yom Kippur you do a different tshuva. The tshuva of Yom Kippur is a mitzvah Klolis. And they say every mitzvah in Chodesh Tishrei is a mitzvah Klolis. In other words, the Yom Tovim of Tishrei are connected to mitzvahs, but they're mitzvahs that are not pieces of the body. They're mitzvahs that are the whole guf, the whole yid, the whole Yiddishkeit are in these mitzvahs. And on Sukkes, it's Simcha. Simcha is not a mitzvah pratis. Which mitzvah is Simcha? There's the Ramach mitzvahs. Simcha is not one of them. And by the way, just to give you an example, the mitzvah Leisa said, what's a mitzvah Leisa that's not in the Cheshbon of the Shasal Leisa said? I like to give this example because I'm in the Mid. Kas. Right, the Rambam writes, Omru Razal. The only source of it is the Zohar. And the Rambam writes, Omru Razal. Kol HaKoyes Ki'ilu Eved Aved Zorah. Kas is not a lav, it's not a Veda. But it's a lav kloli. You have mitzvahs klolius. Mitzvahs. Every mitzvah of Chodesh Tishrei is a mitzvah klolis. And the Simcha, the Sukkes, Simcha says a mitzvah klolis. The Simcha of Sukkes it really is betochen. It's really betochen. Simcha is betochen. Simcha is emunah. Simcha is in the Lashon Mitzvah Tzedek. Tonight is his Spisen. Simcha is trach good, ved sein good. It's a mitzvah klolis, and it's an avodah. It's a job. It's a obligation for each person to work on the idea of trusting HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it says in the Maimorim to get over himself. It says one of the things that's in Chassidus about Simcha is that there's a very strict, direct corollary between Simcha and Anova. There's a mind of the Rebbe, but Yossi Anova Ma'avaya Simcha. And there's a lot of Maimorim that speak about Simcha, speak about Anova. You have a Chayesod from the Rebbe Rashab, Chayesod from the Rebbe, from the Friedige Rebbe. It's a Hemshech Maimorim from Tzadik Zayin. It's the same Maimon. The connection between Simcha and humility. Why? Because the person who thinks highly of himself always thinks that he doesn't have enough. If you think highly of yourself and you feel like you never have enough, you can never be happy. But if you get over yourself, if you're not so busy with yourself, then you can afford to live in the Eibishter's world, and then Baruch Hashem, whatever you have is good, and then you get noch. It's an avodah, and this is Man Simcha saying. This is the time of year when the avodah, the job, the task, the mitzvah, it's a mitzvah klolis. Wie ze Yisa Ach Sameach, right? The Shaitan Chopish. Vayisa Ach Sameach, Sholish, Pama Sholish, Vayisa Ach Sameach, Freilach, not Freilach. Whatever the miyut of Ach is, Menazayin Freilach. Menazayin Freilach, Yom Tov. And the Simcha is a Simcha that's not living in a fantasy, in a Elam Adinyan. It's a Simcha of Avodah, it's a Simcha of life. A Yid lives in Hashem's world. And sometimes Hashem's world has Halam Zvestadim. It's Eibishter's world. He's a balabas always. But there are moments that it doesn't geschmack. For Yad Reinen. For uns Alaman, for Yad Yochid v'Yochid. And the Eibishter says to every Yid, das ein Alma b'Simcha. Alma b'Simcha. So L'chaim v'Levracha, so Boz Alma Freilich auf dem Herzen. So dir der Rebschach Simcha to Levav. What can I say? This is what life is about. I mean, this is the truth of the matter. We're all servants of the Eibishter. We're all servants of Hashem. We're in different places. You have in this Sukkah Yeshiva Bachrim. Yeshiva Bachrim, all they do is Teir Aveda, right? The Rambam, the Hilchas Shleifel Shmita V'Yevo. Yeshiva Bachrim is not living in the real world. Right? He lives in a different world. His world is Teir Aveda, the Eibishter's world. And the Rambam says, Meshulchem Gavei Kazachu. A Yeshiva Bachrim, the Eibishter feeds him. Ani Chalka V'Nachal Esech. But then you have my Yeshiva Bachrim. And you have Alabatim, if you're in the light, you have people not so young. And they live in what's called the real world. We're not sure exactly which world is real and what makes it real. But the Tirde, the Daige certainly makes it feel very, very real. We're all servants of the Eibishter. And the first thing is that we have to remember that we're servants of the Eibishter. And the second thing is that our servants of the Eibishter have to serve. In other words, life is not allowed to be automatic. It's not allowed to be, I do the same thing, mitzvah nashim ul-mother. V'ati yirasa meisi mitzvah nashim ul-mother. But the ganze Yiras Hashem is angechazet. Do the same thing. We serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then there has to be Yitzhak Hashem b'simcha. Okay, L'chaim, I'm talking for too long. L'chaim, 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 L'chaim. Tere ya ye na 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 ye na 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 ye na 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 na. I can't sing it alone. Avram, I need you to help me out, yo. Okay, you know the niggin, please sing along. I don't know the Yiddish word for a frog, but I have a jabe. Okay, there's a good niggin. We gave the niggin. There's more than one niggin. Came to Los Angeles. It was Yeshiva there. He walked around the whole day. That's the impression on him. He just sang that part of it again. Okay, l'chaim v'levracha. Chaim v'levracha, chaim v'levracha, chaim v'levracha, chaim v'levracha, chaim v'levracha. Chaim teim l'sholem. Chaim v'levracha, chaim v'levracha, chaim v'levracha, chaim teim l'sholem, chaim v'levracha. I'm sorry.
It's some of the spark. Chaim v'levracha.
I didn't see them. I don't know, maybe. Okay. I can't eat. No, I can't eat. Oh. Okay. So I want to go over to a different topic. "51 years ago, last year was 50 years. It was the Yom Kippur War, Thank you. And I was 8 years old. In Tafshan I was 8, I was a little boy. What I remember from that tkufa was all the men would stand in shushka and they'd push the boys away, you know. We shouldn't listen. You understand yourself when you tell an 8-year-old to go away, he listens with both ears. So last year, this time, the story of the Mechamshem Kippurim as it relates to 770, listen to the Rebbe, because you cannot separate. There's no 770 without the Rebbe. It's one and the same thing. There's no such a thing as 770. There's the Rebbe. There's Beis Chayenu. 770. So the story was that the Rebbe Farbrengen out of Sukkes, the Gimel Tishrei. 51 years ago, the Rebbe Farbrengen out of Sukkes. And the Rebbe, at the Farbrengen, you can have a tape, you can listen to the tape. It was not a week, it wasn't Shabbos. And the Rebbe was Magid, the whole Farbrengen. The Rebbe edited the entire Farbrengen. It's printed in the Shimchas, I think it's Chelik Dalet. The whole Farbrengen is Muga. All Farbrengen is Muga. And the Rebbe started the Farbrengen, Gimel Tisha, that's Lamadal, with a question. Wie können wir sitzen da in Farbrengen, als jeden ergens anders schlagen sich? That's what the Rebbe started the Farbrengen. How could we sit here in Farbrengen if jeden ergens anders, another part of the word they're fighting? Schlagen sich, and nobody understands what that means. Everybody understands what that means, you know? So that's how the Rebbe opened the Farbrengen. And the Rebbe answered the question by saying that everything is Ba'ashacha Pratis. And the Eibishter arranged that the Mechama should be in days that you're not allowed to say Tachli. Because Chedesh Tishrei, after Yom Kippur, you don't say Tachli. And the Eibishter in Yom Kippur, you also don't say Tachli. You say Vida, but you don't say Tachli. Yom Kippur is it's not a Yom Tif, but it's like Shabbos, yeah, Shabbos is also a holy day. Until the end of Tishrei, you don't say Tachli. And the Rebbe said, this is a Hira for the Eibishter. And the Eibishter will, the Eibishter wants, that the Nitachan of this Melchama should come through Simcha. That's what the Rebbe said, but in the Farbrengen, you can, like I said, you don't have to trust me, It's a very bad idea to trust me. I don't trust me. So why should you trust me? I'm all got the good as a garden. I don't trust no memory. Was da rein mit der Sache und zurück voran. Da rein Nacht reden, habe ich schon vergessen. Gucken in wenn ich nachts ist even nice is even nachts. You can look it up yourself. The Rebbe spoke. The Eibishter was Masadir B'Ktocha Pratis that the Muhammad should be in the Mei Simcha because we should be Natzech and Muhammad Mitach Simcha. The Hemshech HaSipur is verbringt. The Gimel Tishri before the Sukkes. And you have to remember that Farbrengen, the Gimel Sukkes, when the Muhammad Yom Kippurim started, it was gefährlich. It was gefährlich. The first few days were Oyim V'Neira. The Eibishter made Nissen. The Shabbos Yom Kippurim were bigger Nissen than Sheshis HaYomim in the 6-day war. But the reason they're bigger Nissen is because they're bigger Batlonis. The Rebbe said once in the Farbrengen, so Nishka Mitzvah, so Machen at the Eibishter Machen Ibedike Nissen. You know, you can make it there, but then Chatava come in and Natzeh Zayin. Don't be an idiot. But the Sheshis, the Mechavis Yom Kippurim were better than Nissen. I don't want to go into now the Prati Adava, but it's a Umedika Pasha. It's Umedika Pasha. It's a very Umedika Pasha. The Hemshech was that when Sukkes started, 51 years ago, the Matziv was gefährlich. And the Chassidim here didn't know what to do. They felt they were at a loss to be made by the Rebbe, that the Rebbe should be made Rachman Rabbim, what's going on in Yisrael. And all the Rebbe spoke about was Simcha. The Rebbe spoke about Simcha on Ashir, the Rebbe verbringt himself. He didn't verbring in the sukkah because he was afraid of the sakana. He verbring in the house, in shul, without anything. They didn't make kiddush. They didn't drink. And the Rebbe spoke about Simcha. The Rebbe spoke about Simcha. Simcha shal mitzvah, Simcha shal yom tov. And the Rebbe had Chayz, I think it was that year, the Mola Ha'aretz Farbrengen is Farbrengen on Ashir. Farbrengen is like a Simcha. So the Elter Chassidim, I guess they decided that the Rebbe doesn't know what's going on, you understand? They came to the Rebbe opinion. Hanash, the Rabbi Chassidim, ernst Menschen, nicht ich und du. People a lot older and wiser than us, and certainly more earnest. They wrote a opinion on Chalamei Sukkes. And they brought it to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe should made it Rachman Rabbim, Yidden, the man with the Matzah Mitzvah. And they did it with the ganzen Herzen. They did it because they felt that this was a man with the Matzah. I mean, Abel Lochi, make a gate kindness on Yom Tov under such a condition, like we had 51 years ago. So they brought the Rebbe opinion. They brought the Rebbe opinion Nefesh. And the Rebbe was very aggravated. They was really not happy. And again, in Tov Shalom Medada was 8. So I don't remember this. But you can read it in the Shimchas from the Chassidim. The Rebbe said, Ich halt jetzt was man Simchaseinu. The Rebbe told him, Ich halt jetzt, now by me is man Simchaseinu. And I'm not going to let you disturb my Simchaseinu because you're imaginary fears. And the Rebbe said, the Rebbe wouldn't, imagine the Rebbe shouldn't take a opinion. They gave the Rebbe opinion, the Rebbe didn't take it. The Rebbe said, go to the Frierdiker Rebbe, I'm not taking the opinion. The Rebbe was not happy. I guess in the right language, that they didn't trust him. The Rebbe said the solution to the Maimid the Matzvah is Simcha, and the Chassidim decided that the Rebbe doesn't know what's going on. You understand? Versteht nicht. Versteht nicht, Punkt. But the liked opinion. The Rebbe refused to take the opinion. Refused to take the opinion. So last year, Chalamei Sukkes, last year, a year ago, we verbringed about 50 years ago, and again, if you remember, I remember this also, Simchas Teda, even zwei Sachen. And I don't have a siddur in front of me, so I can't. If someone has a siddur, give me a siddur, you'll help me. Oh, siddur with you could do the hakafas. Shmini Atzeres. Shmini was hakafas in 770. You have hakafas? Shmini Atzeres, the fourth hakafa. Shmini Atzeres, not Simchas, the Shmini Atzeres. The seder was that the Rebbe danced the first hakafa and the last hakafa. He danced with the Shvagi, with the Rasha. The other 5 hakafas, they would give different groups of people. Different groups of from Europe, from North Africa, from Yisrael, different groups of people. The 4th hakafa is Idei Machshavas. So, Beklal, the Seder was, the Rebbe stood facing the wall, facing Mizrach. The people who got that hakafa would take the Sforim. They'd go to the middle of the shul. they would circle the bima once and say the words, right? Which, by the way, the whole nusach, how old is nusach HaVakafis? It's not in the Gemara, it's not in the Rishonim. It's all from the Mekubalim. The whole, how old is nusach HaVakafis? 500 years old. I mean, be out of this. All of these in Yonim, all of these minhagim that we have, same is true with Rishonim. How old is Rishonim? How long? It's not from the Gemara. It's recently, last few hundred years, that we have these in Yonim. And the Rebbe learns them and learns them and learns them and learns them. The Rebbe kocht the stark in these Sachen. So I don't know how old HaKafis is, but you look, Sedurim that were made even 200-300 years ago, they don't have a nusach HaVakafis. We have a nusach HaVakafis. So you say big words. You say, no. Then you have small words. It's a different kapitel Tilim. Everything goes in sevens. You know, they have the 7 koilos that you say on Friday night, Hovu. So you say them in the HaKafis. And then you say from kapitel Memchas, it's 7 psukim. Then you say all in Yonim of 7 you say. So you're supposed to read the big word out loud. And then you read the small words, and then you dance. The Rebbe turned around, Shmini Atzeres by night, by the 4th HaKafah, and he read the words, and he zungen with the niggin of Aderes V'Munah. Now remember, I was in shul, I remember it, but I was 8, so I don't remember it. You know what I'm saying? You can think of it, you can think nish. The Rebbe started to sing, yeah, like this. I'm sorry, I have no voice. Mitzvah Hashem Boro Meir Asinoyim Koel Adeshem Shever Arozim Shaver Adeshem Esaz Havanan. I'm singing it wrong. Vayarki Dem Kima Yegelofon Evesir Yegemevendim. And the Rebbe sang the whole thing. Yisbechu. They got. Look at the ganze Meis. And the last 3 words are Ni'imeis B'Mincha Netzach. So when the Rebbe got to the words Ni'imeis B'Mincha Netzach, the Rebbe shouted it from previous nafshi in the imeis v'mincha netzach. Again, you have to ask people who are 50 years older than I who could remember this. But the Rebbe got magishrei. But it wasn't just that he screamed it. It mamish memitzei. It was ois gishrei in the imeis v'mincha netzach. Again, I don't remember it, but you can probably. There's many people who are alive and well, and the brain still works to be able to remember this. This was Shmini Atzeres. Simchas Torah was the next night. So they used to come from the consulate, come here from the Israelis came here from the United Nations. And one of them, the leaders of the Chabura went over to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said to them, the Rebbe told them, Men hat euch gepalt für euch an etzochen Nächten mit Neimes b'Mincha Netzach. The Rebbe said those words. We arranged a victory for you last night with the Neimes b'Mincha Netzach. Imagine, the Rebbe told them. This was Simchas Torah. Simchas Torah is Shmini Atzeres is Chav Beis. So it was Chav Aleph to Chav Beis. The Milchama went till Lamed. The Milchama was 20 days. Chemes Yom Kippurim was 20 days. This Milchama is a year. It's a year. Yom L'Tansik Tag. It was about 12 days into the Milchama. The Rebbe said, "But always get Paul for Eichach Nachten mit Neimes v'Mincha Netzach." But Simchas Torah that night also the 4th HaKafah. The Rebbe turned around and he started to sing Aderes Emunah with a new tune. He sang this the night before with the old Aderes Emunah. I don't know if you know about history. This niggun comes from a Yid whose name was Uriel Tzimmer, Rebbe Uriel Tzimmer, a Yid from Yerushalayim. He became very close. He brought Aderes Emunah tzuvem lechai. We don't even sing the words. That's how the niggun goes. The Rebbe, he spoke. He was a very, very big balchush. This Rebbe Uriel Tzimmer. I think he spoke 22 languages. 22 Sprachen. And the Rebbe used to ask him, he should sing Aderes Emunah in all 22 Sprachen. So he would gather the kids. Aderes Emunah tzuvem. Then the next one, Aderes Emunah to whom. And every hour basis, he would say in an andere Sprach. Tzuvem lechai elomim. This happened in 770 before I was born. Rabbi Yossi passed away before I was born. But he brought this niggun to the Lubavitch. And this is the niggun we sang by the Rebbe, Aderes Emunah. Simchas Torah, Aderes Emunah lechai elomim. I was 8 years old. I remember where I was standing. This goes back a long time. That was the year they made 770 bigger. Lamadal, they made 770 bigger, twice the size, still the corner. Used to be one apartment. So 770 there was a lot of room. The Frenchies, they were jumping like this. They're going to touch the ceiling. They couldn't believe it. The Rebbe should sing a Der Zamunim with their anthem. This was Shimchas Tere, Tashin Lamadal. So a year ago, we verbrengt about the Sukkes. The whole Sukkes, mit 50 Jahren Freie, gewinnt ein größer Nest. Wer hat gewagt? Immer ist eingefallen. The Shmina had said, as we had last year. Was kann ich euch sagen, junge Leute? Wir können sich nicht machen, nicht wissen nicht. You can't make believe it's not happening. In this last year, given a mama should say, sorry, Yankee. It's such a difficult time. One of the milas that we have is we have no chul, we don't feel. Have no hergish. Because if we would feel, the pain would be too much. We don't feel, so everything gets a little bit. But it's an amazing, we're going through amazing times. And I think Kula Amalei Pligi. Let me tell you, this is like a fröhliche Zeit for you. Sorry, hier, Janke, many years. I'm talking about the Shreden, Sukkes, something. After men wegen Simcha-Sachen, that we read. Ole Idach, the Eibishter is making Oiseis und Moifsen für Klal Yisrael, was ist Mama Shlai Umikir Sukkah. Der Eibishter, Almeide, der Eibishter macht für jeden Nissen mit der Fleiß. Kann sich nicht vorstellen. Wir haben nicht Achush. We don't have a Sukkah. And the greatness of the miracle that the Eibishter is performing for Yidden today, every day. The Eibishter cooked the Chaget HaMaisa Amal. I'll tell you HaMaisa, it's HaMaimir HaMuzgir. HaLoshon Hara. I'm an exam, the Loshon Hara, come on. I'm not going to say any names because I don't want trouble. So give it now. Bist that troublemaker. By the way, I found a market for Gimel des Liches. Gimel Lechlocho. The bells are over. Gemacht a special Farbrengen Gimel Lechlocho. Found you a market for your Gimel Lechlocho. That I'll show you later. Anyway. To tell you something. I want to tell you something. What did I want to tell you? I wanted to tell you something. What did I want to say?
Story.
Yeah, about. Tell me. Help me.
Listen, the flow is so.
I'd be Lashon Hara. But we have a good Lashon Hara. I want to say something good.
Talking about the miracles.
Yo.
Very good.
Because the money spent. I'll remember, I'll tell you. That'll help. Anyway. Oh, this is something to tell you. This is the story. I'm not saying any names. The story happened a long time ago. More than 50 years ago. Segvena Yid Be'ilum Shem. He was very unhealthy. Und gewusst, als wird nicht mehr Yamim sein. He knew that wird lang nicht leben. He was a young man and he had a lot of little kids. Und gelitten stark. He was ill. He was sick. And he was having these little heart attacks. And he knew that Sof Kol Sof is going to have a big one. And then that's it. He went into the Rebbe with his mishpach. And he told the Rebbe, Yechidus, he told the head of Maisa, Sachsidisha Maisa, und so the man of Lashon Hara Echid. Alle Meiles. He told the Rebbe, Yechidus, ich feel as if ich gehe auf Gloss. I feel like I'm walking on glass. Eggshells. In other words, he knew that B'derech HaTeva, he's a time bomb. He would have these little heart attacks. And he knew Sof Kol Sof he's going to have a real heart attack. What happened? He wasn't Melech Yomim. So he tells the Rebbe, I think he said, ich gave gloves, or eggshells, or what he said in Yiddish. So the Rebbe answered him right away. Du liegst bei dem Eibishter in der Hand. That's the Lashon Hara. Die Lashon Hara muss man erzählen. Verstehst? He told the Rebbe, I feel like I'm walking on glass. I have no control of my life. And ich weiß, was I'm morgen. The doctor said, kach v'kach, you feel kach v'kach. So he told the Rebbe, I feel like I'm walking in glass. And the Rebbe answered him, Mama, shtoich the dibur. You leaks by the Meibish, and you're sitting in the Eibish doesn't break. He wasn't Meidach Yomen. He wasn't Meidach Yomen. The Eibish does not make a nest with him. I chain the kinder. And I chain the kinder. Die Yiddische Volk uns, alle von uns, wir liegen allemal bei der Eibischen, der Eibische halt uns. Kash Yisrael is a Yonik, Mamish. The Eibische halt jeder Yid, the Eibische holds us. We're special. And this year we went through, we're sitting here in Brooklyn, and we macht sich nicht wissen dick. Es ist schrecklich, am Ende der Matze. Oim benoil. Aber wir liegen, weil der Eibische halt jeder Yid. Der Eibische macht moide und dick in diesem Minne Fleiß. Aber wie viel der Schier? Wie viel der Schier? Wie viel der Schier? Wie viel der Schier? Na, wann kommt es an Ness? Es kann doch sein, bei der Chattel, every day Yid not have a Ness. Every day the Maimed the Matzah has to be Molek Pchodim. You have to understand that I'm sitting in Brooklyn and Farbrengen. The boys who are going to fight in the front are 18 years old. They're your age. Maybe they're not from. But they're Mason, Nefesh, Peo, to be Shema and Nas Yisrael. The Rebbe's mother, the Rebbe's Chana came from Russia. She came from Russia. Like everybody else. And if you know the story, the Yidden came from Russia, so that Ibekich and the Granitzen. Getting out of Russia was the big miracle. But after you left Russia, you had to go through Poland and Czechoslovakia, and then you had to get to Austria, to Germany, to France. Ibekich and verschiedene Granitzen, verschiedene borders. And every border they were standing there patrols and let you cross. So people came to help them cross. Who came to help them cross? Nicht from Jeden. They went very weit from. They come from Eretz Yisrael, and every person who survived the Second World War, who came out from Russia, who ended up in Germany, in Poking, or in these places, was helped by Nishka from Yidden. So the Rebbe's mother used to call them, the Rebbe's mother, the Rebbe's Zachan, the Tzadikim on Tefillin. That's what the Tzadikim on Tefillin, the Tzadikim on missing Tefillin. They were not from, but they were Mesa Nefesh. We're living in a very, very interesting, unusual time, a shared time. We're glad Mamun Shleima, he is the Melech HaMashiach Ba. But it's a share. It's a bit that we're sitting here for bringing, and we make believe it's not happening, but it's happening. It's happening to us. To Yene Yid, L'chol Olam Kula, they're going to see us at Dvorim. Now, but then the Eibush hat stark lieb, Hashem loves us. The Eibush hat lieb Yid Nalamo. The Eibush hat Yid Nalamo. You know, there's a Yid who's alive today. His name is Harav Nissen Mangel. You could talk to him, you could shake his hand. He has a number on his hand. He was in Auschwitz for years. He was a Yingele for 14 years. He once spoke on a university campus. And a college student asked him, Rabbi, where was God during the Holocaust? And without missing a beat, Rabbi Mangel said, He was with me. He was with me. The Shoya come in, but the Shoya come in. To speak about the Shoya, you have to be a Rebbe, you have to be the Heilige Belzerov, to be the biggest tzaddikim. But the Eibishter loves every Jew. The Baal Shem Tov sagt, as jeder Yid is tied by the Eibishter, wie Ben Yochid, was is Neilad, Lahoirim, Zeknenim, Laezik Nasim. The Rebbe repeated this again and again and again. The Baal Shem Tov said, as jeder Yiddish kid, every Jewish man and woman, every Jewish boy and girl is like a Ben Yochid, like an only child who was born to parents when they're old. Und haben nicht andere Kinder. Jeder Yid is tied by Meibish. And we are seeing grace and Nissen in the flies. But I have to tell you, at Nigbeten Farbrengen, the rock band, on my phone it's called Daf Ayoymi, that's what his name is. So the sadness of on my telephone, his name is Daf Ayoymi. Why? It's Shechelik, but that's his name. Rock band, it's rock band, he organized the Farbrengen. And he told me, you know, in Lubavitch is a minute, everything is last minute. 5 Yom Tov, we got back in the Farbrengen. We're making a Farbrengen. Aber getracht. I thought to myself, I'm darf reden wegen dem. I have to talk about this. Now is Mansim Hussein. I am a Lubavitch. There's a lot of people who are not Lubavitch. I'm going to tell you straight. I am a Lubavitch. I was born here. I was raised here. I'm brainwashed. I'm closed-minded and I'm proud of it. Because the Rebbe's feast. I have children who never saw the Rebbe. Ich habe Kinder, die haben nicht gesehen. Wo sie an dem Rebbe's Chassidim, I can't explain why. Aber ich bin da ausgewachsen. I grew up here. And the Rebbe gave a certain Hashkafa Soilam. The Rebbe, he had an approach. The Rebbe hat nicht Moide gehabt. You know, the Gemara says about the day of Mashiach, the Gemara says, the Mishnah says, the Gemara says, about the day of Mashiach, Pnei HaDoir kePnei HaKelev. In the end of Masech Teshoite. Was made Pnei HaDoir? So that alter word, what is the meaning of the words Pnei HaDoir kePnei HaKelev? The Pnei HaDoir, the leaders of the generation are like Klovim. What's a Kelev? What's a dog? He runs ahead of his master. He runs ahead of his master. But he keeps looking back to see if the master is following him. You understand? If the master goes the other way, he runs the other way also. So Shaitan Swan. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says, the Gemara says, before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a whole bunch of Mamadim and and boy, oh boy, take a look at the Mishnah Masech Teshoite, and don't tell me I'm a halt machine. Every simon of Mashiach, including Hayeker Yomir, inflation. It's not Mashiach, it's not Gefährlich, it's only Ken. Okay, I don't want to talk about economics. You'll leave that for the economists. I'll leave that for you. That's your department. What's making the leaders of the generation lead, but they look to see if the people are following. If they see it, they mention Gainish noch, hot manaya deya. I'm the man gadol. Oh, but the door daf noch gain. The Rebbe was not Pnei HaDoir kePnei HaKelev. The Rebbe led. Egelov is a gehalten. The Rebbe gave him koiches adirim. The Rebbe got greater places. He always used to say, the Rebbe the share the free to give out greater places. The Rebbe had their greater places, and the Rebbe gave a derech to his chassidim, to any Yid who wants to listen. And the Rebbe talked on a shir and about the avodah of Simcha, and understand that the meaning of Simcha is betochen. The meaning of Simcha is betochen. It's nicht stam azoi. The pnimius of Simcha is the belief that we live in the Eibishter's world. And the Rebbe spoke 51 years ago by the Mechamis Kippurim, that the Eitz for the Tzlacha and the Mechamis Simcha. You and I sit here. What kind of Mesilas Nefesh do we have? What kind of sakana are we in? How are we being Mesaken Nafshenu? So Ebshah Hit, Ois Hit, Yidden in Eretz Yisrael. The Emes ist nicht in Eretz Yisrael. So we versteht nicht. Jeden leben auf Nissen von den Flies. Jeden, the whole world. Shivim Ze'evim, Kivsa Achas Ben Shivim Ze'evim, Hibish Tameres. The Rebbe said that there's a Shinit, there's another Chazal. Kivsa Achas Ben Shivim Aroyas. There's two different Girsas. Yidden live zwischen Shivim Ze'evim. Und the Shivim Ze'evim schreien. Und die sagen, was they sagen. They say what they say. And the Eibishter watches over Sepsur Yisrael. The Eibishter watches over Sepsur of Yeda Yid Mechomokim Shein. And the Rebbe says, everybody has an avodah. There's a Mechoma. I am not a soldier, I hold a gun. But it says in Chadach, it says in Tanakh, it says in Chumash, it says in Tanakh. Rashi explains it. Yeda Yid is a soldat. It's not Ha'am Yetzim HaMechama, it's Ha'am Yetzim HaKelim. And the Yeshiv HaKelim gets half of the Chevy. Why? Because he's an equal shooter from the Mechama. Ha'am Yetzim HaKelim means a Yid who learns more Torah, does more mitzvahs, who has more betachem. And the Rebbe, he is Leichel Chamas Hashem. We have to understand that this is not words. It's not words. It's not words. It's emes. It's not my emes. It's Divrei Elokim Chaim. It's the Rebbe's words. It's the Rebbe's words. Each one of us are part of a guf echad, of a koyva achad, of Chal B'nei Yisrael. And Yidnar, the man of the matziv, Eis Tzara Hili Yankiv, many of Hashem. The Hashem Taichas, everybody knows this. Eis Tzara Hili Yankiv, many of Hashem. That the pnimius of the Tzara is the Tzayhar. And the Ratzah, like it says in the Warim of Noach, Tzayhar Tazalateva. That the Tzara becomes Tzayhar, becomes a window. And through this window of it lichtig. So we're sitting here, Sukkes, we're having a Farbrengen, and we're talking about Simcha. That we wissen, as wir sind a Chelik von seine Koima Achas, with one people. And what happens to one Yid hurts another Yid. And what one Yid does benefits the faith. I'll tell you a story. It's a shtickle lashon, younger manchik. It's a ganz a shtickle lashon. It's a shtickle lashon, shtickle. The feeling, I should go geschmack. It's a shtickle lashon. It's a meise shoya. It's a meise shoya. Listen to the story. The Rebbe used to give Keshel Baruch. And when the Rebbe made Farbrengen, there were different kinds of Farbrengen. But many of the Farbrengen the Rebbe used to wash. He would eat bread, the whole bread, the whole Suda was bread and water. And the Gonish gegessen. So you drank a fish, you drank a kugel, and keine Mamish, break with Wasser. But the Rebbe would wash. Particularly Matzah Yom Tov, was always a Farbrengen, he would wash. When the Rebbe washed, he would bench. When the Rebbe would bench, he would give Keshel Baruch. He would pour it everybody in the cost, Keshel Baruch. You should know, der sagt, Menschen sagen, als der Menhage von dem Rebbe, von verschiedenen Menhagen, was eine Munkatsche Menhage, von der Minchas Alose. The Menhage that the Rebbe did, what the Friedrich Rebbe didn't do, because the Rebbe had noch gemacht, the Minchas Alose. This is one of those Menhagen. The Munkatsche would give Keshel Baruch. So the Rebbe gave Keshel Baruch. So let's say, Matzah Rosh Hashanah, Farbrengen could last an hour and a half, wasn't very long. But Keshel Baruch could take 3 hours. Matzah Simchas Teda, Farbrengen could be 5-6 hours, and then the Rebbe would stand on his feet and angif yedin and kos Keshel Baruch. I want to describe how Keshel Baruch looked. You would walk by the Rebbe, and the Rebbe would look into your eyes. Look into your eyes. And if you know anything about the Rebbe, the eyes were extraordinary. The Rebbe's eyes. You wanted, when the Rebbe looked at you, you wanted to see. You wanted to look back. Because the Rebbe's eyes looked through you, mamish. The Rebbe's eyes, he would look at you for a split second, and then he would look down at your becher, and you holding a little kelishik, a little cup, not one a cup like this. I claim kelishik. Yeah, l'chaim v'levrach. The Rebbe did that a few thousand times when he was 85 years old. You know what it means? Angisen, not entirely. I claim kelishik, and he never missed. He would look at your eyes. Now when you walked by the Rebbe, at least my experience, the most important thing was you didn't want to miss when the Rebbe looked at you in the eyes. And if you were not careful, you would miss it. So you walked up to the Rebbe, you held your cup, but you didn't look at your cup. Because if you looked at your cup, you missed it. You looked at the Rebbe. And then very quickly, I cook it on, straight through you. Then he would look l'chaim v'levrach. Now my father's on the a lot older. He remembers when Lubavitch was much smaller. So that means in the 50s and 60s before my time, the Seder was, you would walk by the Rebbe, they would look at you, and the Rebbe would say l'chaim v'levrach, and he'd point to your back, and you wouldn't walk away. You would stand there. And while you're standing there, the Rebbe is pointing to the next person, and the next person. You would quickly make a beri pilagofen, and you would sip the wine, and then you would step forward and you would say to the Rebbe, L'chaim. And the Rebbe would answer, L'chaim v'levrach. So if you see pictures of Keshel Baruch from the earlier years, you see that there's a bunch of people standing around. That's why. They would pour it in everybody's cup. And you wouldn't go away, you would stand, you would quickly make a beri pilagofen, you would sip the wine, and you would step forward. And as the Rebbe is pouring wine, you would say l'chaim, and everyone's l'chaim v'levrach. He would look at you a second time. When I was a little boy, a kid, I'm talking about the early lamets, my father used to say to me, when the Rebbe gives you wine, make a bracha, sip the bracha, and say l'chaim to the Rebbe. But I was not able to do it because the people were schlepping me. I was born in Tushachafeh, so my first Keshel bracha, I'm a Beis, I'm a Gimel, there were so many people, they were rushing you. In the earlier years, they didn't rush you. So my father did it. He said, you should be... I never was able to do it. I couldn't understand what my father wants. But I like when they say that. Later on, the crowd was so big that nobody was able to do it. The elder Rebbe Shlach Ketan. If you grew up making a bracha and saying, L'chaim, you could think my father would do it. I was not able to do it. And they would walk on. Kavakora Sreya Ede. Ma'aver tell you would walk by the Rebbe, that would give you the Chayim. The Rebbe never talks to people. Never stops to talk to people. Sometimes people came to Keshel Baruch and they would talk to the Rebbe. If you talk to the Rebbe, there were 7 chevre who would schlep you. 7 chevre. If you had something, you didn't waste the Rebbe's time. If you had something to say to the Rebbe, it was very important. I have a Talmud, I have a student, he was in a car accident, maybe Shimchas. Him and his brother were in a gefährliche car accident. His Zayde, Chanel Memes, lived in Crown Heights. So their mother called up the Zayde and said they were but it was a terrible car accident. Matzah Yom Tov, I don't know what Yom Tov was, Sukkes, Pesach. So Zayde went over to the Rebbe. I remember I was standing right there, I watched it happen. And he starts saying something to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe says, I can't hear what you're saying. And the Val is 6 guys schlepping him. But you know your grandchild was in a car accident. When there's an amatzah b'koach nefesh, you have to say something to the Rebbe. 6 guys are schlepping. So he says it louder. And the Rebbe says, ich hear nicht. And they're schlepping him. I could see they're fighting. 4 guys are schlepping him away. And he's talking to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe says, I can't hear you. So he screams at the top of his voice. When the Rebbe is like, ich hear nicht. He must have said it 3 times. Each time louder. And doesn't hear. Those boys were in my class. I'm a siftim at Yonesh Better. So I told them the story. When you were in a car accident, the Rebbe didn't hear that there was an accident. That was the bracha. The Zayde came over to the Rebbe. I watched it. He screamed at the top of his voice. On the Rebbe, I didn't hear you. So to the Rebbe, the accident didn't happen. Those boys came out of that accident. Nisam in the voice. And the nest was that the Rebbe didn't hear. Anyway, but by Keshel Bracha, they didn't let you talk to the Rebbe. If you stopped to talk, they right away schlepped you away. A Yid walks up to the Rebbe, Nish Kalabavitcher, as Fadish Yid, and the Rebbe leans over and says something to him. That was very unusual. The Rebbe leans over and says something to him. It never happened. He didn't say anything. The Rebbe said something to him, and he walked away. Behind him was standing a Belzer Chosid in line to get a dollar, to get Keshel Baruch. And he sees the Rebbe saying something to a man which was very out of ordinary. So as soon as he got the wine from the Rebbe, he ran after that kid. He said, what did the Rebbe tell you? He didn't want to tell him. Oh, but there's Zugestanden, he nudged him. And he told him the following story. He lives in Morocco, which is North Africa. And he had and he had a shadikite. Something in his life was not good. And he wrote to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe didn't answer. He wrote again to the Rebbe, the Rebbe didn't answer. And his Maimon de Matzav was very schwer. It was a difficult situation. See, he was so upset that the Rebbe's not answering him. He was sitting in his house in Morocco. He took off his shoe and he threw it at a picture of the Rebbe in Morocco. He came to New York for Yom Tov. He goes by Keshel Bracha, and the Rebbe leans over. I don't know what language he spoke to him, because I don't think he spoke Yiddish. And the Rebbe tells him, the klap tut nach als weh. The patch you gave me, I still feel. Imagine. He threw his shoe at a picture of the Rebbe 10,000 miles away from 770. The Rebbe tells him the pain. He gives him a klap. Ich feel es noch. That's a moire dike meis. I'm a get a klap ein Yidden für das jeder Yidden. When you give a hit, one you every few hurts. We are Am Echad. I'm a get a klap. Das ist also gute Lashon Hara. The Frieden Lashon Geschmack. Die Lashon Hara. Es hat der Herr. Hallo, wir sind Am Echad. Und man schlagt ein Yidden, schlagt man jeden Yidden. Und der Eibischte weiß ein Nest für ein Yidden, weiß ein Nest für alle Yidden. Wir sitzen da in Sukkes. Und wir verbringen. Darf man verstehen, darf wissen, I'm sorry, I'm speaking in Yiddish. Okay, forgive me, you have to learn Yiddish. You gotta learn Yiddish. Some things don't go over in English. Darf wissen, dass unsere Simche ist eine Gehe jede Yidden in der ganzen Welt. Und unser Heder Amune, unsere Schwachkeit in Amune, hier tun, nicht auf a good nation, yet nicht die ganze Welt. We're Amecht. We're Koima Achas. And the Rebbe said, when you sit in Brooklyn, and you have a Tachan Rebishn, Simcha Rebishn, Simcha Shal Mitzvah, Simcha Shal Teira, Simcha V'Ta'aras, all the Madregas of Simcha that the Rebbe speaks about in the Sukkes, it affects another Jew. We have to understand that we are right now in the East Tzara. I am in Brooklyn. Each one of us. When we met a share that Hashem Tov says that the Pnimius of the Tzara is the Tzoya. The Pnimius of the Tzara is the window which brings in light, and Seifkus of it brings us to the Gula Mitzvah Vashlema. So L'chaim, ich will uns allem Menschen, oder mit sich allein. Number one, as jeder eine von uns soll fühlen, als wie jeder Jid in der ganzen Welt ist ein Heilig von ihm. Das ist eine große Sache. Number two, wir sollen wissen, aber was wir tun, hier an der zweiten Jiden. Und man hat Betachen, man hat Amuna, man hat Simcha. Und wir dienen maybe mit Hatzlacha. Paltiel is at the Yossi zweiten Jiden. You know that the 6-day war, the 6-day war, the Nechama Yom, which is almost 60 years ago, the Rebbe spoke like to the children, to the Kinderlach. There's a video, you can see the Rebbe speaking. The 6-day war was 2 years old, I don't remember it. But I heard from my teachers that as soon as the Rebbe started to speak that Sikha, I gewusst dass das so Sikha. But Meirigat Yamot is an Ashchita Mamish. But Meirigat is an Ashchita. And the only person who gave hope was the Rebbe. The Rebbe did not allow anybody to leave Eretz Yisrael. Alle Yidden, but it's nicht given until the Gebirge and Eretz Yisrael. The Rebbe didn't let them leave. The Amerikaner, the Rebbe did not let anybody leave. What geschrien ist, als Konnen, der Rebbe Gott ist auf meiner Kreis. Und der Rebbe geschrien, einmal, zweimal, dreimal, Leonim, Yishon, Shemi, Yisrael, the Eibush, the hit Yad Yidden. And like by when he spoke to the children, and he said to the children, as a kind, lernt mit nach a Posik Chumash Mele, und dort nach a Kapitel Tillim, und legt nach a Prute in Pushk. Und der Rebbe said, mit einer Ifen Abbas Yisrael, is me eure, sein Bruder, sein Chaver, und zweiten Yidden, soll euch lernt nach a Posik Chumash. Und euch ist auch nach a Kapitel Tillim. Und euch gibt noch a penny in Pushka. Helft us a Yid was gefindt sich in Ktseya Oila. This is basic Chassidus, it is. Aber man darf das der Herr, darf das wissen. We are sitting here in Zman Simcha Satan. And we are at war. It doesn't mean we should be in Morosh Chayra, it doesn't mean at all. But we have to appreciate the earnestness of our Simcha. We have to know that the root of Simcha is B'tachan Meibishn. And B'tachan Meibishn is a serious business. It's an ernste Geschäft. It became, everybody's learning Shara B'tachan. To learn Shara B'tachan is nice. To learn what the Shara B'tachan teaches is good and on the mice. To bring into our lives, richtige B'tachan Meibishn, like it says in the Sodom, you know what I'm saying? Was made Emes B'tachan? We should have Emes B'tachan, Emes Simcha, and we should be Zeiche. And the Eibishn hit Yedem Chomakim Sheheim. And all the Psukim Pashas B'chokoisai that describe Vesach, Mashiach is going to come. V'cherut hava ba'artzachem, Afilu Chever Shal Sholem, V'ishpati Chayram and Oretz. And the most important thing of all, V'yisalachti B'seichachem, you know Chumash, V'yisalachti B'seichachem. The Eibishn sagt, a Mashiach hat kommen, wird der Eibishn drehen zwischen uns. V'yisalachti B'seichachem means Hashem is going to walk amongst us. Now he's not going to have feet, he's not going to have hands, he's not going to have eyes. Maybe it's not was so bad. Ob es Allah nicht beschäftigt, der ist mit der Dreh zwischen Jeden, weil hier sind wir mal ein Kind. Der ist da von sich dann soll sein Gott in Gichen. Und der Welt darf jeder von uns wissen, als unsere Jüdischkeit ist eine Geja, jeder Jid in der ganzen Welt. Mein Kedusche und mein Tare und mein Zezekima Mitzvahs und mein Simcha und mein B'tachan. It's not just for me. It's not just for my family. It's for every Jew in the whole world. Wir haben dann viele wie ein Volk, wo wir dann selber Palmamisch und mit ein Tag eins. Mit einem Nieder war Nigle, L'chaim v'Lebracha. L'chaim v'Lebracha, L'chaim v'Lebracha, L'chaim v'Lebracha, L'chaim v'Lebracha, L'chaim v'Lebracha, L'chaim v'Lebracha. Nu dat chassidische Nigen. Nu, Frau. Ay na 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 na. your name? What's thy name? Halevi. Wat is dat nou? Naftali. Hello, before you go. Frado Yiddish Kalababitcher. Does anybody know what niggin from the Mizitcher Magid? Oh, it's in the Schorsch Nutz. So dafür, ich habe gesehen verschiedene Sforen, was dann der Grund für den Mizitcher Magid. Ein bisschen weiß, ein Niggin Mizitcher Magid, was man weiß nicht in der Babitsch. Anybody? Schämt sich nicht,
Only the Babitch is bringing the gun in.
Do me a favor. Ich lehne ein Sefer wegen der Heilige Belserov. Es ist bei Kodesh Prima. Steht dort, als Motsi im Kippur, ich bin als Sukkes am Mavdol. Hat gelungen am Mavdol von der Mizitcher Magid. Da steht eigentlich, als den Anuim von Lulev, Heilige Belserov, alle Belser, hat geschockelt mit einem Niggin von der Mizitcher Magid. Belser ist nicht Lebanisch. Anybody bells? Anybody knows a Niggin von der Mizitcher Magid? Was ist du? Aber was ist der Niggin? Der Schorsch nur ist weißig. Weiß der Schorsch nur ist. Wenn ich singe, das meine. Eben hat mir gesagt, als der Niggin, was wir singen bei der Kaffee ist, von der Magid, right? Haben Sie gleich? No. Der Rabbi fängt reingehen zu der Kaffee, ist allemal. Fängt man singen, ay, 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 la, 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 not too hard. I'm looking in the mid-zone. Oh He says, I don't look to my right. Okay, l'chaim lebracha, I'm looking to my right. Where are you? L'chaim lebracha. L'chaim lebracha. L'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha.
Chaim.
Tomorrow. Yeah. Don't forget. Okay, reach out. I'm going to find time. We're going to talk face to face. L'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha. L'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, להמשיך. l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha, l'chaim lebracha. Tell a Maisa. Tell a story. So a Maisa for Chassidish Rebbes. I don't know with whom this story happened, but it probably happened 10 times. It's a true story. It's not a true story, it's a story of truth. Feels and nicht getroffen, wie the tale is getroffen 100 Mal. There's a story that they tell. It's in Harav Zevin's Maises. It's in this Sefer Sipurei Chassidim from Harav Zevin. That I don't know the details. The names I don't know, but in the Sipur Mestama it says who it happened with. But such a story could have happened 100 times. But this is the story, and I'm telling you the story B'Klos, not B'Pratius. That there was a tzaddik, a rebbe, a emes a tzaddik from the Amalek Zeiten. They had a chassid, and the chassid had a problem. What was the problem that he had? He lived in a shtetl, he lived in a village, and the village where he lived, they gave an apporitz. He was a landowner, a squire. It's hard to understand in America what it means. The Yidnam gelebt in Poland. Every poritz was a king to himself. In Poland was a loose conglomeration of what they called city-states. Germany for many hundreds were like this. Poland was also city-states. Every little had a castle and a poritz fazich. Each one of these britzim was kesna. You could do whatever he wanted. And the people who lived in his jurisdiction, who lived under his domain, especially the Yidden, were at his mercy. If he was a shikir, a chazer, he made people's life miserable. So the story was a Yid was in a shtetl under a poritz of some sort in Poland. Galicia, Mistame it was. And the poritz had a son who used to come into his tavern. You know, in Eastern Europe, a lot of Yidden had parnasa from moonshine. What are they called? Moonshine, right? Moonshine. They made whiskey. The koifen. If you know the history of the generation of the Alter Rebbe, it's so interesting. The different tzaddikim. The Alter Rebbe had one approach, the Afterov had a different approach. These are stories which are written down. That the Yidden were not allowed to do most jobs. They didn't let Yidden own land. They didn't let Yidden live in big cities. Yidden could not have a parnasa. It was very hard. They couldn't be doctors, they couldn't be professionals. So one of the ways Yidden made a living was they had a kretschme. You ever heard about the kretschme? And the kretschme was of arendar. Arendar is a Yiddish word, a Russian word, which means that you paid once a year. You didn't pay once a month. You paid a tax every year to your poritz. If you didn't pay the arenda, he put you into a pashut in a pit. Like the stories, the pidyon shvoim that you hear, these stories are real stories. They actually happened. And one of the ways these kretschmes made a living was that they sold alcohol, whiskey. And the goyim used to come in when they got paid at the end of the week and they would drink. So in the last years of Alter Rebbe's life, the Russian government decided, Atem hishkatem es am harusi. You understand? Psukim. Atem hishkatem. You, the Jews, made all the Russians into alcoholics. They blamed the Jews for Russian alcoholism. Why? Because the Yidden had to make a parnasa. So one of the things that they did in these kretschmes was they sold whiskey. The guy no enforced them. They came in and drank, and the Yidden were away accused. So there's different tzaddikim but different reactions. The Alter Rebbe got ein shita, the Alter Rebbe. There was different shitas amongst the tzaddikim, which I'm not going to go into at the moment. Shia Muncha writes about it in his story. But anyway, so there was a Yid a poritz, a Yid who had a kretschme farendar by a poritz. And the Poritz had a son, a Bocher, a Goy. And the Bocher used to come into the Kretschmer. And every time he came into the Kretschmer, the Poritz, the Balabas, would tell his daughter, go away, go away. He didn't need his daughter, the Goy should see her. And the Goy would come in just to see the daughter of this Yid. And every time he would come in, she would disappear. The father gave her, he wanted to see her. And the Goy had sich nicht verliebt. You understand? The Goy, a Goy is nicht kakashes. And finally, the Goy became more chutzpahdik. He would come in, he demanded that so this Yid was a Chassidish Yid. He ran to his Rebbe. I don't know who his Rebbe was, but he was a big tzaddik. The Rebbe, Hab Rachmanis, the Goy sich believed in my Tochter. I don't know if you know the history, but in Chassidus there's a famous tzaddik whose name is Rabbi Tzoris. Rabbi Tzoris. Heard of Rabbi Tzoris, yeah? Remember Rabbi Tzoris? What kind of chassid are you? Rabbi Tzoris. It's a moed in the Kazakh. The Rebbe said once in the Farbrengen that he believes that the Rabbi Tzoris is the Shpola Zayda. Same person. So basically he's Newton Leib and Soda. And the Rebbe said, I'm not going to believe that there are two people until you'll show me two matzevis. So somebody came to the Rebbe with a picture of two matzevis. So zwei Menschen. The Rebbe gesagt, as the Rebbe said, this is the Shpola Zayda, when the Rebbe gesagt, the Rebbe said, by Farbrengen, I am not going to believe it's two people until you show me a picture of two matzevis. So somebody came to the Rebbe with a picture of two matzevis. I said, zwei Menschen. The Rebbe said, the Talmud of the Nesicha Magid. How did the Rebbe said it was his mother? Why did they call him Rabbi Tzoris? What's the story? It's the same kind of a story. Same kind of a story. It's a young girl, a maiden. It's the case of Soda. It was a given Hashena. She was pretty. And the Porit's son would come into the shank, would come into the tavern, and she would run away. And it was terrible. So they found an old man, an alter Yid, a Ben Shimon, an alman. And one day, they got chuppah. The 16-year-old girl married a 70-year-old alman. So the next time the guy came in, they told him, I'm sorry, sir, she's married. She was 16 years old. She married a Ben Shimon. As a patron from them guy. Don't laugh. These things are serious. In America, we can laugh about such things. Anyway, so the guy is a vegan. So as the guy went away, so the 70-year-old alman comes to this little girl and says, I'll give you a get too. And she says, no, we got married, Chova v'kedushin, and everybody knows that Chova v'kedushin, Shmei Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ish v'Isha, Yud Kei, and she lived with a man who was 70 years old. And she had a son whose name was Yehuda Leib. And they called him Leib Tzoris, no, the Mammon. But this is a true story. This is the reason they called him Leib Tzoris. Because she was a young girl, Ashena. She married a 70-year-old Yid and Alman, as a guy's old cooking a field. And after the guy went away, she said, no, we're going to live together. And their son was the Talmud of the Nesicha Magid. He was a big tzaddik, a Leib Tzoris. Anyway, here's the story that I want to tell you. These stories happen more than once or twice. And this Yid comes to the Rebbe, the guy sich verliebt in mein Tochter. The guy sich verliebt in mein Tochter. So the Rebbe made a bezdin. I don't know which Rebbe it was, but I believe in the Sipur Chassidus from Harav Zev, he says the name of the tzaddik with whom the story happened, but it could have happened 100 times. He made a bezdin of 3 chassidim. He made a bezdin. And he was kavei a bezdin. He said to the bezdin, I'm making you a shluchim. I want you to go into my Rebbetzin and to say to my Rebbetzin that if I were to ask that she should take from me a get pturin, would she agree? He made a bezdin. He said to the bezdin, I'm making you shluchim, go into my Rebbetzin and ask my Rebbetzin that if I would ask to separate from her with a get pturin, would she agree? So the bezdin got very nervous, but the Rebbe geheist. So they went into the Rebbetzin, and they said, the Rebbe gebet me then a shluchim, then a bezdin. The Rebbe wants to know that if he would ask, would she agree to take from the Rebbe a get p'tum? She was the wife of the Rebbe, she was a tzaddikus. So obviously she was very shaken, but she said, "What's the Rebbe would say? If the Rebbe wants, I'll take a get p'tum." Sure, good. So the Bezin came back to the Rebbe, and they said to the Rebbe that the Rebbe's in his master. If the Rebbe would want, she'll take from the Rebbe a get p'tum. So right away, the Rebbe took to the Bezin and said, "Okay, so on this smach." If you know the halachas, you take to a woman, to a man, your daughter, your wife is pregnant with a little girl, she's mukadeshesli, so based on this whole lumdis, he said to the Bezdin, I want to make noyim to get engaged to that girl. The same Bezdin. He said to this man, you're going to be my shred, I'm going to marry your daughter. On the smach that if he wanted, his wife would agree to make a get p'tum. So he made a kinyan, and he was mishtadech with this little girl on the smach that his wife is going to take a get. Check. So they made kiddushin, they broke a plate, they said mazel tov. He's sitting as if ready to punch. Anyway, wait. As soon as they made mazel tov, this guy, the Rebbe got up and he said, "I go jetzt verchepet mit mein Kalle." I go jetzt verchepet mit mein Kalle. I go jetzt verchepet mit mein Kalle.
What chapter means what?
He touches. He's harassing my Kalle, and he made a whole thing. I go jetzt verchepet. Anyway, that guy was dead within 2 or 3 days. You understand? Anyway, they broke the shidduch. You understand? What he did was, he was makashif this girl to himself, and then he screamed, "The girl said, "What chapet with mein Kalle?" Tzadikim have a koyach. A tzadikim have a koyach. I'm verbunden mit dem Tzadik. You're in a different man with the matzah. There's a yid. He passed away recently. He was somewhere with a Ben Tishon. His name was Rabbi Weberman. I don't know his first name. He lived in Florida. Rabbi Weberman. Pinchas Weberman. He had a lot of. He was a big Talmid Chacham. He moved to Florida in the 50s. He had a great mishpacha with kinder. Florida was a midbar shmoma. He asked the Rebbe, aber we the Rebbe gehalten, aber euch hatte fromme kinder in a midbar shmoma. You should know, my Mesapolosh and is gone already, but you should know that the Rebbe was very careful not to send shluchim to a place. Koydem kol, there was no mikveh tara, there was no shluchim.
One of them became a litva. One of them became a litva.
Not one of them, many of them. They're ehrliche Yidden. They're ehrliche Yidden. They didn't go off no place. They were raised in a midbar shmama. They were raised in a midbar shmama. The only Yiddishkeit was in their house. The Pinchas Weberman was a Meshuggah. He was a Mesiras Nefesh. Hello. And he raised from children in a midbar. They didn't go off no place. Excuse me.
I know that.
I'm saying, the Rebbe knew, from me, the Rebbe knew that they're going to be Ehrliche Yidden. The Rebbe knew they're going to be Ehrliche Yidden. You should know the Rebbe did not send shluchim to a place there was no mikveh tara and there was no chinuch. I know a Yid, I'm not going to say his name. Avram, I'm not going to tell you tomorrow who. He told me himself that he had a very hard time with a shlich. But Parnasa he didn't know how to raise money. So he moved from place to place. So he told me myself, I heard it first, I heard this firsthand, that he told the Rebbe, he was in Yechidus, he was in Shlichus in a few places, and he had to move because he couldn't pay the bills. He told the Rebbe, Mistame, the Rebbe is going to want, I should go on Shlichus to a place which is close, because I have children that I have to be mechanech, and they have to have chinuch, they have a cheder, they have to have a yeshiva. And the Rebbe said to him, Favos, why? You'll raise them in the house. You have to understand. You have to understand what that means. That the Rebbe held that this one Yid, is in a position, will tell him, send him to a place where there's no chinuch, he'll raise his children in his own home, and they'll be elech. This is special. This is, I should really say the name. I didn't really say the name. But he told it to me himself. He was surprised because the Rebbe did not send shluchim to places. Blooming, shleima blooming. And he learned it out. His kids were big already. He told the Rebbe, Mestamed, the Rebbe is going to send me a shlichus to a place which is close, so there should be chinuch and ifavos. The Rebbe held, I would hold him in the kinder in Shtub, no school. There'll be Alach Yidden. It's very unusual. Anyway, so Rabbi Pinchas Weberman had a ma'aser with the Rebbe. He tells the story in the video. What's the story? You should know, my Eltazeder, my mother's grandfather, knew Rabbi Pinchas Weberman. In a few months before he passed away, I spoke to him on the phone. They were not Lubavitch. My mother's town was not Lubavitch. His head, he was over 90. His head was so clear. I asked him a question about a ma'aser with the Rebbe. He had a ma'aser with the Rebbe about the telephone. It's a whole arichas. So I spoke to him. He was clear as a whistle. He knew who I was. He knew my Eltazeder, my mother's father, Gesem Menachem Sofer. He was a special Yid. Nicht mehr Lubavitch, ein ehrlicher Yid. Hat ihm geholfen. Pinchas Weberman told me says the following story. That he came to see the Rebbe in New York. He was living in Florida. And there's not geld. He was very poor. So how do you come to New York? In those days, there was a system you could drive somebody's car. You drove somebody's car, they paid for the gas, and they paid for the hotels. It was a free ride. So he drove from Florida to New York with somebody's car. There was only one way. How's he going to go back? He didn't know. He went into the Rabbi Yechidus. This Rabbi Pinchas went to the Rabbi Yechidus. And his wife was a mu'beret. His wife was pregnant. He said, geschwängert. And he tells the Rebbe that the doctor said about that ibor that she's breached. Because the baby is laying head up instead of head down. The baby is laying in the wrong position, which is a big sakana. So he tells the Rebbe, Yechidus, the way he tells the story, we were sitting with the Rebbe, Shalom Aleichem. Boyaz. Hine Boyaz ba mi Beis Lechem. Yirecha Hashem. Hashem yitcha given achoyim. Yirecha Hashem. In the old days, I mevorchem, ish es chaveli b'shem. Shalom Aleichem, sit down. I'm making too much attention. He says, the way he tells the story, I was sitting with the Rebbe, that's how he describes it. He said, I said to the Rebbe that the pregnant wife is pregnant, and the doctors are saying that the baby is laying in the wrong position. So the Rebbe asks him, how are you going back to Florida? So he tells the Rebbe, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm going to rent a car. So the Rebbe gives him a siddur and a tanya. He tells him, when you go back to Florida, on the way you'll find a Yid, and you'll give him the siddur and give him the tanya. Anyway, he goes to rent a car to go back to Florida, and the car that he rents breaks down. So he decides he's going by bus. So him and his wife are sitting on a bus. It's 24 hours from New York to Florida. It's a long bus ride. And they stop in a bunch of shtetl. In one of the shtetl, they stop. He gets off the bus. And he meets a Rov. He says the names. I don't remember the names. A Rov. And he finds out that this Rov has a kihila. That half of the Balabatim in the winter they go to Florida. And they're in his shul. It was not all about it. He gave him a tanya. And the way further down, he gave him a siddur. This is the story that he tells. The Rebbe gave him a tanya with a siddur. And the Rebbe tells him, says, give him them, says, give him yen. You'll find a yid on the way who needs it, you'll give it to him. This is how he tells the story. Rabbi Pinchas Weberman tells the story. That they're sitting on the bus, and he gave her the tanya, and he gave her the siddur. It's a long ride. And his wife tells him, his Rebbetzin tells him, Epes tutzach b'mir. There's something happening in the rechem. Something is going on. Epes tutzach. Something is happening. The baby wasn't sitting still. They came to Florida. They went to see the doctor, and the doctor says the baby is sitting in the perfect position, no problem. They delivered the baby. This is the story. This is the story. Van Meitz has Hunderte, van Asach Tzaddik. I spent a Shabbos, I spent a weekend by a shliach, a very important shliach. His name is Harav Shapsi Halper. He's the head shliach to Brazil. He lives in St. Paulo. He makes every year a Kimsa Shluchim in Oder. It's called in Brazil. It's called Carnival. It's called. Everyone goes away from the city. All the Shluchim get together. I was zeicher to be the guest speaker, but he hosts. When you come to Brazil as a speaker, you stay by his house. So I spent the whole weekend, and he's Farbrengen with me the whole time. You should know, if you tell me a story about the Rebbe, I'm probably going to remember it. I'm probably going to repeat it. So if you don't want to repeat it, don't tell me. So Rabbi Halpert, garnish, a few crackers. It's fine, garnished, a few kids having fun. Garnished. Rabbi Halpert tells me a Maisa. The Rebbe sent him a shlichus to Brazil. If you know the story, when he went on shlichus, he wanted the Rebbe to be Siddur Kedusha. In the later years, the Rebbe stopped doing Siddur Kedusha. But the Rebbe said, if you're going on shlichus, he'll be Siddur Kedusha. He got married. He married a very special lady. Tzadikis, it's a konis. He married a Tezim. He was going on shlichus. So we asked the Rebbe to be Siddur Kedusha. And the Rebbe says, it's not going to be Siddur Kedusha. And the Rebbe is gedrückt, jemals. Darf nicht stehen, darf je unter the 4 Stekelach. Which means I don't have to stand under the 4 poles. Because when you make a chuppah, and the Rebbe is in his cheder, he's mishtatef in the Kedusha. You should know, whenever there was a chasana, the Rebbe used to open his window. Whenever there was a chuppah from 770, the Rebbe used to open his window. He was mishtatef in the chuppah. I hate to say this to you, when I got married, the Rebbe went home. I went to Maidiv, and I never took a sikha, and like an idiot, I didn't go for $1. I came back to 770, my chuppah was at the 7. Tough shit, the Rebbe got in a him. He didn't want to be my chuppah. I weiß. But the Rebbe used to open his window. The Rebbe would be started from every chuppah. So the Rebbe said to him, to Rabbi Halpern, ich darf nicht stehen unter the 4 Stekelach. The Hemshech Asip was Meidenburg. Listen to the story. Rabbi Shapli Halpern was ein gesund stark. Is a Ben Yochid. He's a Ben Yochid. He has no sisters. He's an only child. His parents were they were close to Lubavitch. When he went on Shlichus Day, his parents were broken hearted. Ein einzige Kind. That they were shipped in jene Welt in Brazil. They were very, very upset. But he was a Chassidish Bacher, and he's also very capable. And Yochel, he's a very talented person. And he's very good. He's good at what he does. Everything he does is beseder. He does everything properly. So his parents were very upset that he's going to shlichus. The seder was when a young couple went to do since 1960 in Shechaf. When a couple went on shlichus, which didn't happen a lot, they would dance in front of 770, and they would take a whole bus to the airport to see them off. And the Rebbe used to open his window or come outside to say goodbye, whatever it was. When he went on shlichus, the Rebbe didn't do it. The Rebbe didn't come out. And his parents, I heard it from him. I heard it firsthand. His parents were very upset they were going on shlichus. They felt that they were losing their only child. They would send them away to Yenegveld. And the Rebbe didn't come out. So his parents had them disaster. The Rebbe could not fill in his tarois. He's sending your shlichus, not even coming out. Anyway, the story was they went to the airport and the flight was cancelled because there was a problem with the plane. 2 nights later they flew, and the second time the Rebbe came out. The Rebbe knows what's going on. When they went the first time, the Rebbe didn't come out, and the parents were very courageous. The Rebbe doesn't even care. They came back to Crown Heights. 2 nights later, they went to the airport, and the Rebbe came out, and they flew to Brazil. So he told me personally, firsthand, his wife's name was Esther. She was a Kasnelberg. She was a special woman. When she was a girl before Bas Mitzvah, and the Rebbe used to write to her parents about her, the Rebbe used to write Shetlito, not Shetichin, Shetlito. She was a Tzadikis, his wife, his Rebbe's. They didn't have children. She had a kinder. So she went to doctors. And the doctors are mir gesagt, a David wachsen Haar. They told me, we'll hair on their palm before she has children. There was no way B'derech HaTeva she could have children. See, he told me, Rabbi Halpern told me, he was very poor. He was a Malamed in a school that the yielding of Shlichus is very hard. So he was koivitz yada yadam shleted pennies, and he sent her to the Rebbe. He knew who to send. He stayed the Bishop, he sent his wife, his Rebbe's. She came to New York by boat, I think she went. She came to the Rebbe, she went into Yechidus, and she told the Rebbe that the doctors are going to say I'm never having children. It was not Shaychet B'derech HaTeva that she should have children. She tells this to the Rebbe in Yechidus. So the Rebbe changes the subject. Macht sich as if you heard nicht, like the other story with Blazinski. The Rebbe didn't hear. So there's the Lashon Hara.
No, I knew that. I knew it.
Yeah, he was in your class. By Farbrengen we used to talk about it. The Rebbe changes the subject. The Rebbe says to her, how long are you in America? So the Rebbe says to her, Efshe wird die Form in Oria Soda und Reden wegen Tarif HaMishpach. A woman comes to the Rebbe and she says the doctors are never having any children, and the Rebbe doesn't respond. Emphasis. The Rebbe says, maybe you'll travel to Oria Soda out of New York and speak about Tarif HaMishpach. So she says, whatever the Rebbe will tell me to do, I'll do. So the Rebbe said to her, go speak to Harav Chadikov, to the Rebbe's secretary, Harav Chadikov. So the Rebbe did not give her a bracha. The Rebbe didn't give her a bracha. The Rebbe didn't give her a bracha. She traveled, I don't know how many miles from Brazil to New York, it's thousands of miles, and tells the Rebbe, the doctor gesagt, ich habe kein Kind haben. The Rebbe empfiehlt nicht. The Rebbe says to her, Efshe Tedman, Tarif HaMishpacha. She says, okay. So the Rebbe says, get rein to Harav Chadikov. So she goes into the Rebbe's secretary, Rabbi Chadikov, and she tells Rabbi Chadikov that the Rebbe said that while I'm here, I should go to Oria Soda and speak in Tarif HaMishpacha. So Rabbi Chadikov arranged that she should speak in 4 cities. After him said, I heard the story from Rabbi Halper myself. 4 Städte. And then he tells me, and you have 4 Kinder, and that's it. You understand? You understand? The Rebbe told her, geh red wegen Tarif HaMishpacha in 4 Städte, und sie hat 4 Kinder. Aber verbindet sich mit der Tzadik, this is what Tzadikim do, you understand? Verbindet sich mit der Tzadik. Aber da wissen wir, dass man darf verstehen. Wir sind alle Babel Chachsidim, wegen dem Rebbe. Aber verbindet sich mit der Tzadik, hat min Koiches. The whole thing is, the Rebbe gave 100. I was sitting at Farbrengen the other night, Yom Tov. I lost my voice 3 days ago because of a plenty. We're sitting at Farbrengen. Mageret. The Rebbe gave Masach Meftzai. The Rebbe gave a thought. To do everything the Rebbe said, you have to be the Rebbe. It's not Shaykh. To do everything the Rebbe said. But if you do one thing, the Rebbe gave 1,000 Meftzai. I'll give him a dogma for Yisrael, for B'nai Teirah. So then Rambam. You should know that the Rabbi Reichik, Harav Reichik, was a very, very big chassid. When the Rebbe made the Takon of Limit Rambam, Rabbi Reichik called up every shlich in California, and he said, you have to learn Shleisha Prakim Layim. Shleisha Prakim Layim for a yeshiva bocher is a lot. For a shlich, it's impossible. And Rabbi Reichik said, you have to learn Shleisha Prakim Layim. So young man said to Rabbi Reichik, you can't kein Perek nicht lernen. Shleisha Prakim Layim, I can learn, it's too much. So Rabbi Reichik said, why can't you learn 3 Prakim a day? So he said to Rabbi Reichik, because every morning I wake up and I run to the bank to borrow from Reuven to pay Shimon, borrow from Shimon to pay Levi. There's a whole spiel with the banks. So Rabbi Reichik said to him, you know what? You should learn every day 6 Prakim. Today is Rambam and tomorrow is Rambam. And if you'll be ahead in Rambam, you'll be ahead in the bank. Rabbi Reichik said, Michigan, and the Shlich, the top of the Michigan, the gefolgt. And talking about 6 Prakim Layim, you know what happened? He was ahead in the bank. I have a young man, a friend of mine, who works with me in Ninja Chassidus, who tells me I learn every day 6 Prakim, and today's Rambam, and tomorrow's Rambam. The Rabbi Reichik said to him, you'll be ahead in the Rambam, you'll be ahead in the bank. So Rabbi Reichik, I don't know if you know who Rabbi Reichik was, Rabbi Reichik. Rabbi Reichik was a very special chassid. his Pas Bag HaMelech, he took his bread from the Rebbe's table. He was a very unusual chassid. He was a shliach. He was a big chassid. And the Rebbe sent him to California in Tafshin Tes in 1949. You have no idea how many Yidden who are not Lubavitch, who finished not Lubavitch, Ungarische Weg, who are from the Mamish, because Rabbi Reichik was Pasha, their friend. Rabbi Reichik was a big chassid. So there was a Yid in Los Angeles. He was connected. I don't know if he was well for the Rebbe. He was Kaddish. Rabbi Reichik, Shmuel David Reichik, writes to the Rebbe. He wants to make a Lubavitch shul, Lubavitch minyan. So the Rebbe wrote him a letter. It's printed in Ignis. You cannot make a Lubavitch minyan because you were sent to Los Angeles to be involved with the whole Kehillah. In other words, you're not supposed to daven in a Lubavitch shul. Rabbi Reichik daven Rabbi Halberstam. Ungarisch. I remember the shul on Beverly Boulevard. Rabbi Reichik daven Rabbi Halberstam. Ungarisch. I sat in Chosse. Rabbi Reichik daven there Barichas every Shabbos. And the Rebbe writes to him, I'm looking for somebody else to make a Lubavitch minyan. But you were sent for the whole city. So Rabbi Reichik knew many Yidden who were not Lubavitch Chassidim. Ungarisch, Polish, Chassidish Yidden. So a Yid came to Rabbi Reichik. Allah Shalom, he tells him, the Rebbe, I need a moifus. I need a miracle, the Hamanes. So Rabbi Reichik wrote a letter to the Rebbe for this person. And the Rebbe answered him. If you need a moifus shalal piteva, you have to learn a Rambam. Shleisha prakam layim. Well, in Chumash van Aremes, the voice moifsai be'eretz Mitzrayim is Rosh Hashanah's Rambam. The voice moifsai be'eretz. This Rosh Hashanah is from the Rebbe. It doesn't say any sefer. When they made the first Siyam Rambam, the Rebbe gave out this Rosh Hashanah. The Rambam is Rosh Hashanah, the voice moifsai be'eretz Mitzrayim, and the Rebbe said, if you need a moifus, learn Rambam, Shleisha Prakam Layim, you'll have a moifus. And I'll tell you, I'll admit, don't worry about it. You worried about the recording. This is Klipa V'Sidrachim. It's my job, but it's Klipa V'Sidrachim. How could they both be true? And they wish to zelt to find Hafchim. I learned Perek Echad Layim for many years. Why? Because to learn three Prakam Rambam is, it's not I spent an hour learning one Perek. Rambam is shred. Rambam was not easy. I learned Perek Echad Layim. And I got harassed, you have no idea. I was a stupid fool, I announced it. And then Shluchim used to call me every Chodesh. Chamor Shor Kelev. Chamor Shor Kelev. The lens they paid a Rambam and I brought. For years I learned Perek Echad Layim and I was very proud of it. Why? Because I wanted to understand. I tell my Tamim, I tell my children, learn Perek Echad Layim with an Ochavich Aleged, that's what my moifus. I needed in my life. A moifus Shalei Piteva. And I started learning Shlosh Prakam Rambam. And I got my moifus. I'm telling you my Sishahoya. What the miracle is, even Avram I won't tell you. But the Eibishter made for me and this in my personal life with my own mishpacha, because I changed from one Perek to Shlosh Prakam. But it doesn't have to be Rambam. Yeder tzaddik hat hakoyach. When a tzaddik tells you to do something, and you listen, you're connected to the tzaddik. If you're connected to the tzaddik, there's different rules. Es andere Halachas, ihr versteht, es andere Halachas. Jeder Yid ist verbunden mit dem Rebbe. Every Jew, when you go out into the street and you shake a lulav with a Yid, so you did a mitzvah. And I don't know if you understand how the Rebbe thinks about the mitzvahim. We get the test that you did a mitzvah. For some geratet from who knows what. You did a mitzvah with Rebbe, you do mitzvahim with Abbas Yisrael. You say in tiny perkavei. A Yid does one mitzvah. One. In his whole life. Is a verbunden mit Nebish of an Eberkeit. There's a tape. You can listen to the tapes. Where the Rebbe says this with gefährliches Rakshas. And the Rebbe says in Yiddish of an Eberkeit. A Yid who's not from at all. Does one mitzvah. One mitzvah. One time. Aus dem verbunden mit Atzmus und Husse in Baruch Hu. He's connected to the Eibishter Le'el V'Voed. And that's it. When the Rebbe said to do Miftzayim, you go out in the street, and Miri Yid was not from, who and all anderen Yonim is nicht beseder, and the Rebbe says when you do Miftzayim, it's v'haftal recha kamoicha. You go out into the street and you find a Yid and you shake with him a lulav, or you put film on him, or you get her to light a candle, or even to put a penny in a pushk, which is such an easy mitzvah. Hast du verbunden a Yidden mit dem Eibischen. You connected a Jew to Atmas Hossein Sarbarchu, and it's a Yichud Nitzchi. We don't understand the Eibishter. Why? Because we're not the Eibishter. We don't understand the preciousness of one mitzvah. But the Rebbe does. The Rebbe said when you do Miftzayim, when you meet what we call a Freya Yid, a Yid who's not yet from, and you do it in a mitzvah, one, you're never going to see him again, he's never going to see you again, he's not going to give a donation to insalchasidus.org or to whatever your Chabad happens to be. You got the message. You do one mitzvah a Yid, you just connected him to the Eibishter of an Eibekait. And in addition to that, if you did it because the Rebbe said, you connected it to the tzaddik. And we connect the Yid to a tzaddik, it's a whole other situation. You connect it to the Landazach. You know, after it was never made Miftzat Film. The 6-day war. But you liked Yid film. Not from at all. You liked film. Und der Rebbe hat jemand gesagt, der Rebbe said, he's still saying. Sheikh Gemara. V'ro kolami ha'aretz kishem Hashem nikra lecha v'yoru mimeka. Eilu tfilin sheberosh. Du bist nach meinem Baal Lashon Hare. Naftali Hersh, right? Naftali Tzvi. Naftali Tzvi geht zusammen. Ja. Von der Meise mit den alten Rebbe. You know so the alten Rebbe. Talk about generations. The story with the alten Rebbe. That everybody knows, it's printed in the same Beis Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe was davening, and he was wearing tefillin. And the Rebbe's and Shimchas, you have it also. And they came to arrest him. So the Rishoyim, the Goyim, came into the house, and they said to the Rebbe and to the Alter Rebbe's wife, her name was Abba, says, I understand it. Vu is Alman Barachovich. Everybody's name was their father. The Alter Rebbe case is not even Baruch. Who is Alman Barachovich? Where's Alman Barachovich? So the Alter Rebbe said, at his Farbrengen, he was davening. He's busy, his Farbrengen. So the guy slapped the Alter Rebbe's wife. But he slapped her so hard, such a tzichet, he knocked a tooth out of her mouth. I just got that son. He was out of Russia. So she pointed at the Alter Rebbe's cheder. But he geschlagen. So she pointed at the Alter Rebbe's cheder, the Alter Rebbe's room. The guy ran open and pulled open the door. Alter Rebbe was standing in Tal from Tfilin, he was davening. And the guy ran in with the ganze chutzpah, you know what I'm saying? So he ran in with the whole chutzpah, and as soon as he saw the Alter Rebbe in Tal from Tfilin, he stopped. And he became filled with aim of a fachad, and very respectfully he stepped out of the room, and he closed the door, and he turned to the Rebbe, who he just punched in the face, and he said, yeah, I see he's busy. Tell me when I should come back. So she said, don't come back. The Alter Rebbe's davening always took 2 hours. She said, come back in 6 hours. Alter Rebbe had a little time, the story already ran away, the whole Arichas HaSipur. So later, when they came to arrest Alter Rebbe, so one of the Alter Rebbe's relatives asked Alter Rebbe, I should look to the right also, yeah. I'm looking the whole time to the left. I looked to the right for a little bit. So they came to the Alter Rebbe, they said to Alter Rebbe, why when the guy saw you in Tal's and Film was he so afraid? So Alter Rebbe said the Gemara B'Fineshes. The Gemara says, so the Gemara says, when a guy sees a Yid wearing tefillin shalosh v'yara, they're afraid of the Yid. It's a pasuk in Chumash. It's a Gemara. So this chassid said to the Alter Rebbe, I also wear tefillin, and no guy is afraid of me. And this chassid Alter Rebbe, the guy, when you put on tefillin, the guy is afraid, and I put the guy is not afraid. So the Alter Rebbe answered him, steht nicht tefillin she'al harosh, es steht tefillin she'birosh. By you, the tefillin are on your head. By me, the tefillin are in my head. So the guy is afraid. This is all the Rebbe said. Fast forward 7 generations. The Rebbe said you put on tefillin or a yid nish koshem Shabbos. Hot a guy for them moira. The pearl mamish. And in this Mechames Sheish Layamim, you saw it b'muchesh. They saw the kibachim, they were not fruiting. They put on tefillin one time, and the Rabbi of them gesagt that they ran away from the Israeli before they even came. They didn't know what they were afraid of. Savas mit moide gehad, weil jeder gelegt tefillin einmal. Keinem call it. It's verbunden mit Nebisch. Und the zweite Sache, verbunden mit dem Tzadik. That's what it is. You have to understand the koyach. Was sage ich das? Was nicht jetzt. Wir darf verstehen. You have to understand every yid. A lot of us, Baruch Hashem, are ehrliche yidden. We keep all tayag mitzvahs. You know, it says in Heilig Yisvarim, you know that today, the man of God, the Chafetz Chaim has a sefer. It's only possible to keep 86 mitzvahs. Pay for the Middle Rebbe writes, pay for mitzvahs. I don't know how much Chafetz Chaim has, but the Middle Rebbe writes, pay for, you can only keep 86 mitzvahs. And at 248, it's about a third. A lot of us are ehrliche yidden. Unfortunately, some of us, in the Loshen from the Babish, der Weile. So there's getei no mitzvahs. Shem it mitzvahs. We like to aim out film Tayyid. Aim out, one time. One time a person lights a candle Shabbos. He's been verbunden mit Nebisch. Verbunden mit Nereben. And the Eibishter protects all of us. Hashem protects every single Jew. You see, our business is that we have to believe it. Where's my Mishnah Lashon Hara? Noch a Lashon Hara. Ich hatte erzählt, und der Name später noch sagen, ich sagte den Namen. Sie gewinnen ein Yid, a großer Chassid. And when a businessman, a big businessman who had a shutuf, had a partner. The problem was the partner was not frum, and the partner was not frum was richer than him. So the partner was not frum was the shutuf ha'ikri, the shutuf ha'tofel. You understand? He had a partnership with a yid who was not frum, but the other guy had 80% of the business. He had 20%. This not frum yid had a situation. He had a little girl who became sick, ill. So this Groise Chassid came to his partner and said, I'll tell the Rebbe. After the 4 he says, no, don't tell the Rebbe, because the Rebbe is going to tell me to do something and I don't want to do it. Don't tell the Rebbe. The Yid was not from knew that he tell the Rebbe would have to do mitzvahs. He didn't want to do mitzvahs. Anyway, the girl got sicker and sicker, and he came again. He says to the shutuf, I'll tell the Rebbe. No, don't tell the Rebbe, because I don't want to have any his chayvesen. The girl got so sick that the Lubavitcher decided he's going to ask the Rebbe for bracha without permission. So he wrote the Rebbe a letter. He said, I have a shutuf, he's not from, his daughter's not well. I need a bracha for the Fuhr Shleima. The Rebbe answered, tell him it was not from at all. Also registrieren seine Tochter in Beis Yankiv. Not in a modern school in Manhattan. He should register the girl was a baby. Now, that when she'll get bigger, she'll learn in Beis Yankiv. Beis Yankiv is a very frum school. This Chassid had a problem. Why? The guy told him, Befedesh, don't ask them for bracha, because I don't want any heroes. And he asked the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, register your daughter at the Beis Yankiv. And he stood to lose his whole partnership. Why? He was the minority owner in the business. And the guy told him, don't ask the Rebbe. And he told him why. Because ask the Rebbe said, it's on mitzvahs, if on mitzvahs, and the Rebbe said, of all the things in the world, as you register his daughter, it's not from in Beis Yankiv. Anyway, he walked around like a chicken without a head for a week, and the girl is dying. She got mamish, she was dying. Is a regular for some shutuf, and she says, I gotta tell you, you told me I shouldn't ask the Rebbe for a bracha for your daughter, and I asked the Rebbe a bracha for your daughter, and the Rebbe said, if you want to save your daughter's life, you should register your daughter in Beis Yankiv. Not in a modern school. Beis Yankiv. So this Yidaleh was not from. Without any hesitation, went and he registered his daughter in Beis Yankiv. She was 2 years old. You don't go to Beis Yankov when you're 2, to Beis Yankov when you're 5. But this is the Beit Kedima, you understand? And the girl had a refuah shlema. But that's nes. So this Groiser Chassid came running to the Rebbe, a Groiser Nes! The girl was sick, and the father registered the daughter in the Beis Yankov, was he had a refuah shlema. And the Rebbe geämpft, the Nesse gewährt hat, dass er mir gegeben, was ich hab dir geheißen sagen. That's the Nes. The Nes is that he gave over the message. That's the Nes. Das ist immer gesagt. Versteht? That's the Nes. That's the Nes, Avraham, that's the Nes. Aber folgt. Jetzt ist das Mann, was jeder, Bechlau ist das Mann. Aber es ist ja jetzt. Jeder will mit Nebischen, will mit den Reben. Help der Nebischen. Help der Nebischen. So when you go out on the street with your lulav, you know, they make now today, I'll tell you 2 Lashon Haras, 2 more Lashon Haras, special for you. You're my Lashon Hara guy. Koydem Kol, you should know, there was a shliach, unfortunately, he's all over Shalom. His name was Harav Shmuel Azimov, who was the Rebbe shliach to Paris. He had himself, tens of thousands of Bailei Tshuva. Bailei Tshuva, Shem Yiteinu Mitzvah, Shem Yishabes, Eichel Kosher, Yitara. Tens of thousands of Bailei Tshuva himself. When he went on Shlichus to France, the Rebbe told him it was an unusual Hira. The way he should do his Shlichus is he should teach his Bailei Tshuva that they should be teachers. He's Makadav, he's Mebishten, as a Lenin mit andere. It was unusual Hira. They said to him, don't just be Makadav people, be Makadav people in the kind of way that they should be Makadav other people. And that was his Atzlocha. His Bailei Tshuva became Mashpiyah. And that's how he was so many Bailei Tshuva. Today, in America, in a lot of Shlichusim, they have a situation where the Young Light create ambassadors for mitzvahs. You live in a city. You're the only front person in the whole city. The only front person in the whole city. You have people come to your Beis Chabad, they do your favor, they put on film, they come to a minyan, and they get these people to go put on film with other people. People themselves that come from, aber belegt da Tfilin mit der zweiten Jiden. Und das geht es. Ein Jid Makar auf der zweiten Jid. Mitzvah, Gereres, Mitzvah. Ein Jid Makar auf der zweiten Mitzvah. Ich habe die zweite noch schon vergessen, was das war gewesen. Ein Jid Makar auf der zweiten. I want to say something else also. I wanted to say something else also. Oh, he made in New York. A friend of mine that I know. It's called the Tefillin app. The Tefillin app. How does the Tefillin app work? There are many people, not Lubavitchers, who do this. That the Tefillin app, there's two sides. One side is, I want to put on Tefillin. And the other side is, I have Tefillin that can put on with you. I have cousins, not Lubavitcher, that they joined this Tefillin app. They're not running in the street to put Tefillin on Yidden, but if someone sends them a message, half a mile from your house, so-and-so wants to put on Tefillin, and they go and they put, in New York City, there's a Tefillin app. So the way it works is, there are people who want to put on Tefillin, and there are people who are prepared to go out of their way, like Uber. They're prepared to like mit jedem Tefillin. Und er sagt nicht kein Lubavitcher. Ich meine, jeder ist ein Lubavitcher. Ich will nicht reingehen in die Politik. Alle sind ein Lubavitcher. Für was? Weil der Rebbe ist von allen Jiden. Lubavitcher meinen, der Lubavitcher wird Rebbe belongt to say. Ein nächtiger Tag. But if Jiden want to put, if you're not running a mitzvah, it's hard for you. But if someone asks you, come to my business and put tefillin on me, I'll do it. So they made a tefillin app. And thousands of people are putting on tefillin. And thousands of people are putting tefillin on with them. Yidden, nicht schon Lubavitcher, some Yidden, from a Yidden. I don't have to stand on the street corner if I'm uncomfortable. If a Yid wants to put on tefillin, I'll take my tefillin. I'll go to his house, I'll go to his business. I'll put tefillin in it. One mitzvah, two mitzvahs, three mitzvahs. And we took that mitzvah is verbunden mit Neibishter. Verbunden mit Neibishter, help the Neibishter. The Neibishter protects. And it's a special when it's a soul. And yet they're not through. It puts through one time. The Goyat for them moire. The Eibishter will wissen, the Baal Shem Tov hat gesagt, and the Eibishter hat lieb jeden Yidden. The Baal Shem Tov said that Hashem loves every Jew. Chava Meise. Allah noch. Aber die Meise, was soll ich mitnehmen? Ich lebe in Kronheiz. Kronheiz, aber dann kann alle Babischen. Es ist Heid. Am Morgen waren verschiedene Jiden. So the Yid in Kronheiz, his name was Harav Chaim Ruben. Is never Cholov Shalom. I davened in the shul for 10 years. Based on Gersh. Is a Benon Shukadashi Elyon. He's a Einuch from alle Rebbes. From the Belze, from the Korsnitzer. Brimtzach as an Einuch von von Zidichow. As an Einuch from the Heshel Zidichow, Isaac Zidichow. Is a mamish abundant. So I davened in the shul, and every Shabbos he would sit and Farbrengen with me, and I would tell him stories. He would talk, and I would listen. So he told me a ma'aseh. Oh, what's the ma'aseh? I forgot already. I wanted to tell you a ma'aseh. Heta ma'aseh. I tell the story every year. The first night Sukkes in my Sukkah. To meine Lubavitcher Kinder. Der Meer Pramishlanne, ich bin ein Kind, ein Jüngerlein, von 7 Jahren, so ein little boy. Der Tat ist eigentlich, wenn er Zadig ist, und er beordnen Leben, alle Fleisch, Waffen, beordnen Leben. Ich bin ein Zadig. It's not fun to be the son of a Zadig, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it becomes a panosa later, but wisdom of Akstoisis. When your father's a Zadig, it's a Shvedalem. It is a nach Sukkes. He told me the story with the Polish accent. Nach Sukkes. We going daven in Shiel, alle going in Essen. In the bottom lay private, he's busy over there with the Malachim, with the Neshomas. Davening Mar takes him an hour and a half. Everybody went home. And Male is 7 years old, a klein kid that he was pushing hungry. And again, in America, we don't understand what it means, because in America, you eat 6 meals a day. There's breakfast, and then you have a snack, and then you have lunch, and you right to the snack, and then supper right there. I'm all looking at them, I guess the same little talker, but he went hungry. He was very hungry, and the Tata macht sich narisch in Shul. Tzadikim, I don't mean it, Chas V'Sholem. Anyway, the bottom lay private, in the Mayel lifetime him as Hingerik. He's 7 years old. And finally, the Tata is guy in Sikke. So the bottom lay says to Mayel, his little boy, Mayel, we have a guest coming in Sikke the erste Nacht. So Mayel says to his father, Tata, you, if you would finish on time, you'd have a lot of orchim. Nobody wants to wait for you to finish all the Rebbe Shishnik, but they're going to time there. There's no guests. All the guests are taken. So the bottom lady says to the Mayel, Mayel, heute the Spieße von Avraham Avinu. Tonight is the Spieße of Avraham Avinu. Und an Eure kämen in Sikke nicht herangehen. You understand? Without a guest, they can't go into the Sukkah. And Mayel says, nicht du kein Orchem, Tata, alle Orchem sind schon gegangen zu anderen. And he says this on Mayel, if you don't find an Eure, there's no Siddur Yom Tov. And the kid is hungry. And Hingerik. So he goes to other Sikkes, he knocks on the door. He says, I'm a Habrachmanis, come to me of gas. Because until you come to my Sukkah, I can't eat. And they don't know what he wants. Noch ein Essen, komm ins Westach zu Pravin. Zum Tisch, noch ein Essen. So this poor kid is hungry. And the man was Hingerik. Nobody wants to come to the Sikkah. Anyway, he bumps into Stefan. In Russia, every guy's name is Ivan. In Rusland, but this guy's name was Stefan. He was a guy, he helped out on the shield. He says Stefan, die dus haben frische Chale mit gestoppte Gans. He spoke Yiddish. Asach Polish guy, but great Yiddish. Die dus haben gestoppte Gans mit frische Chale. We have stopped duck, which is a delicacy. And frische Chale, but the yaw. Kim mit mir in Schwag. Come with me, but keep your mouth shut. So he puts him in the back of the Sikke. He goes back to his father in Shiel. Tate Choban Neulich. Choban, oh, my son Chai. So the bottom leg goes home. have you seen it? Lubavitch is basically if you said toys, but the privilege is basically you stand by the door of the Sukkes and you invite or Spiesen. So the bottom steht beim Tier Kiddush, and he's inviting Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, Nakoim.